Obviously, we hope to do more of these, but we're gonna like kind of experiment with some stuff.
Okay.
Should we introduce ourselves first?
So why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name, Shane?
My name's Shane.
Hey. That's Shane.
And I'm Ryan.
That's Ryan. And this is Steven. Hello.
And over there on the ones and twos, Maddie Real.
Or wait, where's my camera's normally over there.
Oh yeah,
Poor
He's got
mustache
the
man.
webcam.
Poor mustache man.
Poor mustache man.
Yes.
Keeping things going here.
We got a lot to cover today. We're going to be. It's a big week for the Ghoul Boys here.
Oh boy.
We're on network
The GBs.
television.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to be talking a little bit about our appearance on ABC's The Rookie.
One of the biggest shows out there right
A
now.
crossover event for the ages.
That's right.
They call it a guest appearance.
It's a crossover
Well,
event.
people
for
are
the
saying
ages.
people are saying that it's not necessarily a
You
crossover.
can't call it a crossover.
It is a crossover.
It's a
They
crossover.
cross
It's a
into our
crossover.
world.
It's a
They're not
crossover
ours.
because we are Ghost Files is in the universe now of the Rookie.
And
It's
I-
canon.
I got a free trial to Hulu last night to watch it and prepare for this conversation today. It's technically a special appearance. I took a photo of it.
Special appearance.
It's a
by
crossover
Ryan
event,
Shane
and
Midday.
Well, that's what they listed as. They wouldn't say and a special appearance in a crossover.
Yeah, that's too much. That's too much copy. And I imagine now that you did that free trial after watching the ep, you're gonna convert.
Yeah,
You know
that
what I'm
convert.
talking about?
We're also going to be playing a little game of werewolf here,
Oh boy, that's gonna be very
in
stressful.
which you, the audience, may be asked to participate via poll to
Mhm.
guess who is
The werewolf.
being the nasty.
Who's the werewolf?
Are we going to share the results of this poll live?
Yeah,
In Whoa.
What do you think
That's
we're
cool.
gonna be like? All right, go to bed, everybody. We're gonna be tabulating this. We should mention this is gonna be running till 5 a.m.
That's right.
Yeah, it is a telethon.
Yes.
Wait, should we do that one? Do a 24-hour podcast?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think we should do that.
Unless it was for a very, maybe for a good cause or something.
Sure.
Yes, okay. All right.
This is not a good cause.
Right.
Um,
Scary cause.
we may be attempting to do an Estes method here.
That's right. Some live ghost hunting.
Ryan, do you believe this studio to be haunted?
Sometimes I do.
Yeah. Certain rooms
Certain rooms. Sure.
have an air to them.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what you say?
Central air.
Oh boy.
That's
Yeah,
very good. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
We got.
Thank you.
I know the old
don't know
one
what
is
I have
happy.
You don't have I was hoping for some canned laughter, but good
Yeah,
joke
I don't
is
have
good
that.
too.
What about a monster saying good to you?
That's pretty good.
That sounds good. That also works as well. And then we're also going to be doing some mail,
We do some mail times,
some Q&A.
and I want everyone to be paying.
Live
Oh,
mail.
I was going to say the mail.
Is live.
Today's mailbag comes from the people who are here right now.
That's right.
From
Live.
you.
Yeah.
Unless you're listening to this Monday morning or watching this on
That's
YouTube.
right. That's right.
At which point this has already happened, but if you'd like to join us for future lives, head on over to watchertv.com. Great. At the end of this episode, we will be voting. You will be voting on who receives.
Do we get a vote too?
which of the room?
I don't think we do.
No, we
Okay.
do not. The people.
A witch off.
A witch off.
I think I won that one.
If it feels like we've got some contentious vibes here, we might do a check halfway through.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
not.
true.
To just get a
Half
finger on the
witch?
pulse. Half witch.
Dang,
Nice.
you're on one today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm vying for that Witch of the Room title.
I think you're winning us over.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the what's the opposite of witch? Sorry to ask a question like that nobody has an answer ready for.
Wizard of the room, perhaps.
No, they're not opposites. They're just friends, I think.
Yeah. Elfie.
Well, hey, we're going to be keeping an eye on the chat. We're going to be throwing out some polls, but otherwise, this is a live podcast. We're having fun here.
We're just hanging out.
So as this is a podcast episode, let's hit our announcements that we do every week. This week on YouTube begins an exciting 2-part episode of Are You Scared?
That's right. It's an old-timey part 2.
Old-timey.
Part 1 and part 2, rather.
That's right. And then May 16th on YouTube, season 4 of Ghost Files premiering. Very exciting. Now over on Watcher TV, this week we have a brand new episode of Ghost Files. Season 4, episode 2, we visit Clayton House.
That's right. A nice little southern manor.
Truly one of the most beautiful houses I've ever seen.
Very, very nice. Used as a Civil War hospital back
Where
then.
was it?
It was in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And the week after that, on May 9th, as we said, we've been experimenting with live. We're going to be trying some new live things. On Watcher TV on May 9th, we're going to be doing our first live Ghost Files debrief.
Yes, we are. That is going to be something that we are.
Ryan looked like he didn't know about it.
Finding out for the first time.
We did just record a debrief, which you guys already saw, but we are going to be experimenting with live debriefs for you guys over here on Watcher TV, and that's going to be very good to get your guys' input live.
Yeah.
On all the ghouls.
We thought about maybe putting up a poll that's like, do you think this place was haunted?
I thought about it. Yeah.
Maybe
we could
we
decide
should.
once and for all if that location was haunted.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna do the thing where you like call friends to vote, like to help you get your what? You know, because this is a Bugara versus Shaniac off.
Yeah,
You know.
I guess it is. Yeah.
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 So are you gonna call your friends and be like, hey, can you just help me tilt the polls one way?
Yeah, I'm going to be calling
Like we
hundreds
do
and
with-
hundreds of people.
Well, it makes sense because he needs the help.
I need the help.
He does need that help.
I need that help.
He's struggling over there.
Yeah.
Especially after that first episode.
Shut up.
You know that was compelling. That tickled you, and you laughed.
Do you guys know the demo of Bugara versus Shaniac viewers?
No.
I think it's pretty down the
Is
middle.
it down the middle?
It's pretty
Okay.
down the middle, yeah.
That makes sense.
But I think after that first episode, maybe we might be seeing a shift.
I wrote all my notes on here that I just read off of the screen. I just like to have a clipboard. Maybe I'll take notes during this episode.
The only thing that's written on your little clipboard there is "Don't be nervous." So how are we going to start this off? Should we talk some rookie?
Well, this is a fun way to start this off. For Fritz, let's get a birthday shout out.
Hey,
Fritz,
birthday! Happy birthday, Fritz!
Happy birthday was yesterday. It's belated, but that's not our fault. We didn't really know about it.
Okay, we'll start a countdown. What are we at? 364?
A reverse countdown? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
A count up.
Fritz, it's not your birthday anymore.
We missed
Stolen valor. How dare you?
How dare you?
Not really what I thought we were gonna do.
Do we want to talk about the rookie? I guess we haven't really talked about it.
Well, I have some questions for
Yeah, that's
y'all.
right, Steven. You actually did
you had some
download a free trial.
So you watched it yesterday to prepare.
Yes. I literally did the thing. So if you guys remember, Ryan actually watched Travel Season back in the day and did a roundtable with me.
I did do that.
And I did a roundtable with Ryan after he did his Ghost Files alone, and people said I was a very good interviewer.
Okay.
You were okay.
No, people said I was very good.
But I wanted to ask some questions that I had after watching the episode, and I thought about what the viewers also were probably thinking as well. So let's get to this. First of all, incredible work, y'all. Well done.
Wow.
Unbelievable
You're
acting.
a really good interviewer.
That's very good.
I thought Ryan was really on point with your facial expressions. Shane, you really were acting because there were times when you acted scared, even though you were more scared in the show than I've ever seen you in real life.
Yeah, I had to be afraid.
Did they
Do you mean you have to
direct
get
you?
scared?
I had to get scared.
You had to get
So
scared.
this is my first question. How close do you feel like the writing represents you guys' real life personalities?
That was interesting, I guess, because we were playing ourselves. So
Yeah, that was a thrill.
what was it like for you downloading the history? Because you don't typically do that on Ghost Files.
It was fine. It was kind of fun. It made me almost wish I did that a little more on Ghost Files.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a thing I can.
Maybe you should be doing that. Yeah, because you actually seem to enjoy that.
Maybe I'll do that when we do Alone.
That's true. We are doing a version of Alone with the two of us.
You've mentioned that already, haven't you?
I have. That shouldn't be new.
Breaking news.
Are you gonna is there anything we're gonna kind of Tom Holland style drop today?
I mean,
You see this next one, they all die.
that's Ruffalo though. I've been called the Tom Holland of Watcher.
Is that when Don Cheadle goes do?
No.
My favorite part is he's like, huh? It's your career.
Yeah, he goes, not everyone.
Your career.
I think the writers of the show did a great job of kind of, because previously we were 2020 we were on SWAT, and on SWAT we were playing, of course, Eric and Ira.
That's right. Watching the
Was I
that kid
Ira?
in that car.
Was I Ira?
I believe you were.
Kid in another car.
I think you were Ira.
And I was not a skeptic on that, really. I was like, we were both equally sort of conspiracy theory YouTube people.
Sure.
But in this one, they let me be me.
Yeah.
And they did a pretty good job of it.
Well, the only thing about it was you seemed very serious about ghost hunting on.
Yeah, there was a part where I was like, "Hey, we got some really great evidence here." I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be like, I really wouldn't say that. I'd probably say this is all bullshit.
You know what? Actually, though, I think you use that as an opportunity to get that out of you because you often want to say that.
Yeah,
but
I
you don't-
always
you don't
wanna
want
say,
to disappoint.
Well,
your
this
camp.
is really good evidence.
Yeah, and then now you finally could release the demon.
Was it hard to say that in the show? Because like
I don't think
that
it's
is
hard
not
to say
something that you would say.
It came from the heart.
When you're acting,
No, that wasn't acting.
No, it was hard. It was really fun. We had a great time there. I think they had wanted to shoot for a couple days, 2 or 3 days, to
did.
kind of space it out a bit. But because, Ryan, you were gone
I was.
on a trip, and it was right before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So I was going to be leaving to go visit family for Thanksgiving, and as it happened, our schedules, Ryan and my schedules, were overlapped to the point where it was impossible to shoot.
Yes.
And we were like, this seems really fun. We can't. I don't think this will work. And we were really bummed. But Ryan, did you got back and basically landed and came to the shoot?
Exactly.
And I
landed
bumped
from
my
Japan.
travel day for Thanksgiving, and I apologized to my mother-in-law. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be a little late to Thanksgiving. I'm going to be on rookie. And
I
she
gotta
was
talk
like,
to Nathan
"That's
Fillion.
Yeah. So they squeezed it all into one very long day.
Whoa.
It was fun, but it was really fun. It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was at a big old abandoned hospital.
Which apparently is haunted.
It looked very much like a Ghost Files place to shoot.
I think it was like an old hospital that has like huge acreage. It's like out in the out east valley.
I think it was like Whittier or
Yeah.
something like that.
Really far out there, and it's a huge property with a ton of buildings, and they basically just use it to shoot a bunch of TV shows in.
Yeah. This leads me to my next question, which is in the show, Selena, is that her name in the show? Selena Juarez?
Yeah, Officer.
She's a fan of Ghost Files.
That's right.
Do you know
show.
she's a fan in real life?
No.
No, absolutely. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna assume not. You know, she was incredibly young. They did lay it in like 2 weeks prior to that in the episode. They're watching Ghost Files.
Yeah.
You barely see. It's just on television for a quick flash. And people.
Heroic victory.
Someone slacked us.
That is what
after
we
that
like
episode
around here,
at
lads.
Walker, and they were like, "Oh, is that your episode?" Which would have been very fun.
It was just a clip of you guys.
It was a clip where Ryan was on a television for 1 second. It would have been very funny if we had been hyping that up.
I actually forget what episode it was that was on the TV, but that was a fun
2 weeks
little Easter
before
egg.
this
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
It was a fun way to seed it.
Well, who was a fan of the
I
show?
think it was the escape room episode.
Oh yes,
I
Dare to
think
Escape. You're right.
to
It was
Escape.
Dare to Escape. Yeah.
But yeah, who was a fan of Ghost Files, and how did that come about? Because somebody was.
I believe it was the showrunner's kids.
Alexi Hawley's
Yeah.
children.
Okay.
Alexi Hawley's.
I heard one of the writers actually was a big fan.
That would scan because they did a good job of writing 2 Ghost Files, unless they just did all their research. Which
I mean, the coolest thing about the episode for me wasn't even seeing Shane and I in the rookie. It was seeing the Ghost Files official assets. on
Yeah, what
network
was that
television.
like?
That was so cool.
That was crazy to see the Spirit Box Explainer.
The Spirit Box Explainer, the Ghost Files title sequence, our lower thirds, all that stuff that
Celestino
like
voice.
we worked around, as a team here to build. That was amazing to see. And I actually wonder for the rookie fan base that doesn't even know Ghost Files exists. I wonder if they were like, wait, is this a real show or is this a show that they made up in the universe of the rookie? I'm curious what the fallout and the trickle down of that will be. Of people just discovering, like, wait, this thing that was in this episode is actually a real thing? And these are 2 real guys?
Yeah.
Were they playing themselves, or were they...
If it
This
went
is a
over
weird
well,
concept to play a non-fiction version of yourself in a fictional show.
that's. I mean, I'm saying like on Puppet History, it's very funny to have died. Well, right, you're dead too now.
I'm so dead.
I hope maybe they'll bring us back to the
Dead
rookie
as
next year and kill us. That's the ideal.
Dude, that would have been cool if there was an alternate cut where Nathan Fillion goes in and then I do that little scream I do with the helmet on and he just shoots me.
For this last season of Puppet History, when I get shot in the alleyway,
Like
that,
a dog.
that was originally written as this scene where I was supposed to be like a greaser wearing like a tank top.
What the fuck? Why?
before. I was like, a couple weeks before the shoot, I was like, this is gonna be too hard to shoot. Because I wanted to be wearing like a white tank top and like out in the alleyway, being like
a Dominic Toretto tank top?
beating the shit out of the algorithm computer with a baseball bat, and being like, what do we got here? And then I was gonna get shot by the horse, and I wanted to do squibs, like homemade squibs.
I see.
And then I was like,
in the Waterworld show.
yeah, and then I just pivoted to being a strange old man who gets shot and without squibs.
I know this isn't an interview about puppet history, but how far out did you have the season mapped out? Did you have like note cards on like a big board, like a cork board?
I don't use note cards. I should, but I did have like all the different elements kind of plotted out, and then I'm like, what can I? Every season starts out with like, here's 40 ideas what I can include in the plot, and how can I make 15 of these work together.
I had one last question.
Okay, one more.
Which is, people talk about this show and how like the cast love each other, and like I'm curious what it was like working with the cast, Nathan Fillion, like all the people there. What was it like meeting them and working with them?
It's cool because like you said, it's a group of people that really like working with each other. You can't have a show that's been running that many seasons without liking each other, and it did feel kind of like we were walking into like a family unit, and to just be a part of that was really cool for me. To just kind of be a cog in the machine over there, it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
I had a great time.
And everyone was very nice,
Very welcoming, very nice.
and welcoming. Because
I was hoping for some drama.
No, they were incredibly welcoming. You could expect that they were like, who are these YouTube ding dongs that are coming over here?
Yeah. Well, by the way, you guys in the show. Yeah. No, if it wasn't for you guys.
Spoilers.
Oh my God, sorry. I am so sorry. Just
I don't even think that's true.
That's not true.
No, I mean I genuinely don't think
It's
true.
not true.
I watched it. I was like,
we
well,
There is one thing in the episode that I wish they would have kept it in. There was I forget. I think that whole scene.
All that beeping out shit is annoying.
Nathan Fillion shows us like the 666 on the
Mad
phone.
fucking
He's like, come take a look at this.
Forgot about that.
And I had the helmet on, and just like in real life when we wear the real helmet, it's incredibly disorienting wearing that. You don't have a lot of spatial awareness, and I already don't have spatial awareness because of ADHD. But when leaving the doorway, bumped my head like pretty hard on the doorway, and I tried to stay in character, and I just looked at Nathan Fillion and was just like, I'm sorry. And he thought that was the funniest thing on earth, and I wish they would have kept it in because making him laugh was like one of the greatest joys of my life. Because I've been a fan of him since Firefly and Serenity and all that stuff. So that was just cool to.
And who could forget Slither?
And Slither also great. That's a James Gunn joint, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's a good time as well.
I also wanted to shout out the director Ashley Williams of that episode.
That's right.
Who I saw her name on the call sheet, and I was like, I don't think that's the actor Ashley Williams. It was. She knocked on her trailer in the morning. She was like, "Hey guys," and I was like, "Oh, she was on How I Met Your Mother for quite a bit. Recurring character on How I Met Your Mother."
I have a question here.
Okay.
Question from the audience.
Oh, this is fun.
Okay. A live mail time.
Yes. It was timely.
Okay.
If you could be, this is from Lily. If you could choose to be on any other show on TV right now, which would you choose?
Let's see, what show would be a good one? As a similar thing where Ghost Files is like intersecting with this kind of
It doesn't
world.
have to be Ghost Files.
I think that'd be fun though, because that's like the most fun to imagine. Like, what show would be the funniest if?
Ghost Files on Dateline.
That would be bad.
But what if they? I don't know.
Let me think about that really quick. Of what's
it's
actually?
live.
I know. I'm thinking about it. Like, what would actually?
It's live.
Well, what's on Andor? Would it make sense? No, that would be
You're
weird.
just going by the most recent TV you
Last of Us, I'm trying to think what else there would be. That's The Pit. We could be on The Pit.
We could be on the Pit. That we show up on the Pit and we're in it the entire season because we're doing an investigation. Aren't people watching the Pit? You should be.
No, what if this is The Pit?
Pitch me the Pit.
Well, you know how they have like a new person that uses pictures with a new ailment every episode?
Oh!
Shane, you have blood squirting out of your leg, and I'm wheeling you in. They're like, what happened? And I was like,
I got bit by a ghost.
he got bit by a Slimer, a stage 10 ghoul.
No, I wouldn't get bit by a Slimer. I get bit by a Muncher.
A stage 10 ghoul
A
just
Muncher.
bit him in the leg.
Why do you never acknowledge
Keep
Muncher?
pressure on it.
Josh
Keep
Gad is
pressure on
Muncher.
it. Is he?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe
And
that.
Josh Gad is Muncher.
And then we like see you bleed out.
And I die.
And you die.
You see
in my arms. In my arms.
My pale blue face.
And I'm covered in your blood.
That's good.
And after I'm just like looking at my hands, like I don't know.
And then you close my eyes, and then without looking, you just bring up your spirit box, and you get to work.
Or what if I have a very emotional moment before that, where I'm like, "Wake up, Shane! Come on, wake up! I know you're there. Come on, wake up! Wake up! I got something for you."
Yeah,
That'd be really good.
Maybe.
I like
Hey, this is a great interview, Steven.
Oh, thank you very much. You know,
Great interview.
Hey, great work on the episode. Seriously, and hey, shout out to the rookie for
Thank you for having us
putting
on.
these guys
That
on
was-
there.
We didn't deserve it, so
It was a lot
thank
of
you.
fun.
No, you guys did. Absolutely, you guys have worked hard.
If I can spring something on Meredith over there, is there last week a lot of people had thoughts about our hot dog conversation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it was very funny that we said, okay, we're going to be switching to Get Scared. Don't worry, it's not going to change much. And a lot of people were like, I don't know, guys. I'm not ready for this. And then we spent 20 minutes talking about hot dogs. And also, so many of the comments were just people giving their opinions about hot dogs.
I would say that 90% of the comments were about hot dogs.
90%!
As they should be. Because a hot dog should be defined by a weenie in a bun.
It depends on. Now I'm learning. It depends on the
We don't need to
regional.
Frank.
Well, here's what the thing is. It's yes, we always ask for Squad Watcher or the Dirty Worms. Is that what they're called?
The dirty way.
Well, they can vote, can't they?
Oh, that's true. Well, I think some people like saying some things and some people like saying other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Squad Watcher, I'm Dirty Worms, I'm Scaredy Cat, whatever it is. Okay. We have a great opportunity to ask in real time.
Yeah.
Does a hot dog count if it is bunless
Now that is
or
good.
not?
Now, see, this is what we should not
Oh,
count.
are we getting a poll up?
We're gonna get a poll up
Oh,
right
can
now.
Just picture, if you will,
You can
somebody holding
I wanna
just
vote.
a raw wiener in their hand.
And I want to say,
And you're just doing that without the bun. That's not a hot dog.
I want to say that this is the context of this map primarily for whether it should count toward the hot dog tally,
The talent.
or are you
Yeah,
saying
This is mostly they're driving the tally.
no?
Vote. The poll is up. We got. Thank you so much, Meredith. Does a hot dog without a bun count for the tally?
How long
Bunless
are we?
counts.
How long are we going to
That's
leave the poll
crazy,
open?
dude.
Oh, we'll leave it open for another. Until we stop talking.
No, but like, okay, imagine if you're eating.
Make your case. Make your case, Steven.
If you're at In-N-Out and you get
They
a
don't have hot dogs.
protein style burger.
Yeah. What was that?
Sounded like Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know. What the hell?
Protein style. That was really good.
Crunchy lettuce.
Is that a burger?
No.
Yeah, it is.
That's actually
That's a burger.
That's a really interesting.
That's
Are
a
you talking about the
burger.
one with the lettuce?
Yes, lettuce wrap burger. That is 100% a burger.
If we're going by the official rules of Nathan's hot dog eating contest, you need that bun.
But
and
this
and
is-
most competitors. Most
That's
competitors
American
will.
construct.
But most competitors will say that the hardest part of that contest is the bun, and that's why they're dipping it in the water.
Well, actually, if we bring that up, now
If we
this
bring
is
that
great.
up,
If we bring
and
that
here
up,
we go.
It's
this is
been
good.
brought up.
This is great.
It's been brought up.
Oh, he's rubbing his
If we bring up the Nathan's hot dog rules,
That's right.
they get rid of Kobayashi for partnering with Impossible Meat.
Whoa, they what?
Don't you even go down that road just because
I'm
you
back
ate.
to zero, baby.
No, you ate 8
I'm
hot
back to
dogs.
Wait, why are we counting hot dogs again? Like, is there a prize at the end for who
Someone
wins the
asked
most?
us at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Well, I know that prompted this, but what are we doing it for?
No, just the tally.
For science?
For science, for curiosity.
You know
and
what?
as we said, maybe there should be a secret, a secret consequence, a secret consequence that we don't know about. We don't know if whoever has the most hot dogs gets a prize,
Or the least.
gets a paddling,
Or the middle.
Or paddling.
or whoever gets the
I don't
least
think
gets
they
a
should get
prize.
a paddle. They should get smacked in the face with a hot dog or something like that.
That sounds worse.
A dog
If
smack.
I get to eat it afterward, I don't want to get smacked by a hot dog. Give me a hot dog.
Maybe.
Well, I'm sure you're going to want that bun if I have to smack you with it. You get smacked with a raw dog, that's going to hurt a little bit.
No, it's not.
I don't think I've had any hot dogs in like several years now.
Well, but no,
You
you
certainly had like 8 in a 3-day span, which you should be in prison.
Not according to
According
the
to Los
official rules
Angeles
of
laws.
Nathan's hot dog.
You should
I
be
haven't
in
had a hot dog
cuffs.
for a very long.
Did they actually ban Kobayashi for Or
I don't know. I'm talking
partnering
a
with
little
them?
bit out of my ass.
Okay.
I think they did. Ryan, you're familiar, right? Didn't they talk? Didn't they like? You are a big Kobayashi guy.
I don't know about Kobayashi. I just know that the
You
most
talk
of
about him
I'm
more
a
than
big Kobe
anyone.
guy. I'm a big Kobe guy, but I will say that Kobayashi, I'm not sure. I just know that most competitors will say that the bun is the hardest part.
But that's
Sam? What?
Why is
He is
Kobayashi?
banned.
Thank you, Sam. What did he do?
This is what we need. when I'm-
Performance
Tell us,
enhancers.
Sam.
Was he just getting really high before the
No,
contest?
he did a deal.
Is that illegal?
Sam's doing recon in the van over
please, yes.
I'm pretty confident that he did a deal with a alt meet, and they said that is a
there. How dare you? At the end of the day, though, don't they want this drama?
Oh yeah,
They
well,
want it.
I
They
guess.
want it.
Because then
I
he
don't
can
know.
come back and it's a whole thing. But
Yeah.
then Netflix.
Don't say it anymore. It'd
What?
be great if you just go, but the Netflix.
Didn't they do their own hot dog contest?
I don't know.
Which was live.
Do you guys think you could
Sam's
do?
gonna
Just
be
like
on
this.
fire.
Talking about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Do you guys think
No,
you could
no,
do
no,
the
no, he did a hot dog
the
one.
9-9 challenge?
What are you talking about?
9 innings, 9 years?
999.
The
Yeah.
9-9-9 challenge.
I don't want to do that.
You have 9 innings of baseball, and you have to finish 9 beers and 9 hot dogs in that time.
No.
I think I could do it.
Okay. Next live stream.
I believe you could do it.
I think I could do it.
Next live
I
stream.
don't think
is
there's any
999.
problem with it.
No, the beer is actually the hardest part. The hot dogs
sure.
is easy.
What are we doing?
It's easy, dude.
Welcome to Get Scared.
I do that shit.
We
in my
said it wouldn't
fucking
change.
Sleep. I'm not scared.
We
of it.
told you.
Look, maybe we should have sub statistics. So you have like the hot dog is like the overarching one. Then you have like how many of them were veggie? How many of them were
Yeah.
meat? How many of them had a bun?
I think if it's in a casing and in between a bun, I think it's a hot dog.
No.
No, but hot dogs don't have casing.
Isn't it like a kind
Hot
of
dog have casing.
It has
Or
What
it's not.
keeps the meat
It's
in?
technically not casing the way a sausage is. A sausage. is casing,
Vienna
right?
beef does. It's got that.
Well, please
Yeah.
educate me then.
I don't know. I'm also talking on my ass right now.
Well, then what the? You said that with such authority.
Oops.
We can't keep talking about hot dogs.
We really
I mean,
can't.
we could technically, like literally,
This
we
is
could.
the second episode in a row.
Nothing preventing us.
Okay, are we about ready to
But-
close the poll?
People
You
love
can't
hot dog
stop me
talk.
because we're
We can-
live now. I could keep talking
We
about
can
hot
close
dogs.
the poll. It's not really super conclusive.
I'll
I think
filibuster.
as we
50 to 50?
It's as we close it. Does a hot dog without a bun count? 56% yes.
Yes!
Viva la bun.
Wait, what?
43% no. Be serious. There's only 2 options.
So with a bun is the winner.
It's saying
No,
it
without
needs
a
the
bun
bun.
wins.
It
Husha!
counts without a bun.
Yeah, baby.
People are crazy.
The people have spoken. Hey, we can't
And this is
overrule
in
the
the
people.
context
That
of
is-
the
thank
hot
you.
dog. In the context of the hot dog tally, it's
And
not
just
the
like how
bread
Samara
that's
is
killing you.
scarier than Xenomorph.
We might get to that later.
No, we're not going to bring
Oh,
The
we
hot
should.
dogless, the bunless dog is a hot dog. Thank you to the people. Should we do that poll later?
I don't agree.
We may.
That may.
Don't agree.
But,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
before we do that poll, we would have to say this is the final say.
No. That's
No,
not. That's not. what-
We've done that so many times, and you and I have won.
We won
so
every
many
time.
times, and then every time is the new time that we're going to relitigate it.
I think
You're
if we
right,
do
you're
this poll, if we do the poll that we're afraid to do,
I'm not afraid of it.
no. But I think we would have to treat it as like, where's it going to go this time? It's almost like an election. It's going to happen regularly, and people have to campaign
Okay.
for
Okay.
whether or not it should be Samara or the Xenomorph.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time for Watcher Werewolf. Okay.
Yeah.
Here on Get Scared.
All right, let's see it.
Hit me.
Get Weird?
Get wolfed.
Get. Is it werewolf? Steven was saying this earlier. Do I say werewolf?
That's as about as clean as intro as you're going to get.
Are you?
You didn't say
You sound
where.
kinda
Werewolf. Where is wolf?
Raz Al Ghul.
I think it's werewolf.
Nice.
Werewolf.
Okay, here's how we're gonna play. And
Should
again,
I talking about a werewolf?
Shut.
It's right there.
Hey,
that's good.
Hey, would you?
It's a werewolf. All right.
Okay, here's how it's gonna work. We have the 3 of you are gonna play,
Okay.
and it's not gonna be your kind of traditional werewolf because that can take forever.
Is there no? Should we say out of the gate? There's no swearing on any loved one's lives.
Yeah, can we get rid of that?
what?
We sort of.
That made it fun.
We sort of.
Steven's like, I got the clear.
We sort of explored that.
We had fun with that. I think we can say we don't swear on loved ones.
Okay.
Swear
Yeah,
on
yeah,
ones.
yeah.
And no asking to do it.
That's right.
I did not ask. by the way, last time. You just
You were the one that did it.
I did run it.
Yeah.
I'm bad for the show. I agree.
His shirt says it. Become Goblin.
Become Goblin.
He's done it.
Here's how it's gonna work. Everyone's gonna get a card. This one has a skull.
Okay.
Scary.
Good illustration.
That's getting me scared.
I drew this one.
Getting me.
I draw this one.
I draw this one.
Like a top. Very nice, man. I'll put that on the fridge when I get home. I promise. I'll buy a vacuum and everything.
The other two people will have a lantern here.
Okay.
And then if you have the lantern, you are a villager. If you have the skull, you're a werewolf. Or you're, you know.
Do you need a bucket?
Yeah, we need a bucket.
I get popcorn bucket.
Wait, how come there's only 3? Is there
What
another
accent was that?
We're
We're gonna do you three. The audience is gonna vote, and then I'll join it again for the.
Okay.
I gotcha.
The audience is gonna vote on the first one.
Yeah, on both.
Are they gonna say werewolf?
So we're making our pleas to the audience.
Yeah.
Oh.
We explained the rules already.
Yeah. So you're each gonna grab one. Don't look at it. Keep them folded. Don't look into it. Just grab it and put it in.
I know how to fold them.
Grabbed.
Don't look. Shane, you just.
I did look.
You son of a.
Okay, I gotta start over.
God, no honor. No honor
Shake
at
it
all,
up.
dude.
Shake it up.
Shake it up.
Yeah, the cars.
That's right.
Okay, I grabbed. I'm gonna hand you the bucket.
Don't look.
Don't
I'm
look
not
inside.
looking. How can I be looking?
If you guys see them
That's the only
cheating,
way you can
let
prevent
us know in the
yourself from
comments.
looking.
Is my foot above your head?
And that's gonna leave Ryan to take the last one. And you can look.
I mean, at this point, it's like, whatever.
At this point,
Don't be so mad.
Yeah,
You know
just
what I'm
chill
talking
out.
about. You know what I'm talking about.
If I have a lantern, what does that mean?
Oh,
I can't believe I won that.
It's already starting. I don't believe you.
But I have a genuine question. If
Yeah.
I have a lantern, what does that mean?
That's good. That's very good.
Yeah, you do.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, he has it.
I'm above that.
Oh, he can't even lie about
He
it.
can't even ask the question. It's Ryan.
not me.
Ryan, for the audience, give us your camera right here. Give us, if I have a lantern, what does that mean?
If I have a lantern, what does that mean?
Well, that's not convincing.
Why are you the
Why do you
werewolf
look so
already?
scared?
Why does that? I have a lantern.
You're doing what I usually do, which is I just inject some chaos into the proceedings.
No.
Yeah, he is.
I think we should sit on this a little bit. I feel like we should do
Now that's
something
fun.
else.
Oh, okay.
Why is
Oh.
Let it marinate a
that?
little
Just
bit.
let it cook.
It's like when
It's
you put
probably
like,
not good for
some chicken in like a Ziploc bag and put that baby in the fridge.
While we cook
Ew.
on it,
Suck
so
in the juice.
should the person with the
Uncooked.
Uncooked.
should the person with the skull try to sabotage the live stream?
No.
No.
Oh, you're trying to win.
They come push
Wait,
over.
why are we abandoning ship? Let's just play werewolf and get this over with.
We're simmering. We're simmering.
Okay.
All right. Let's. I'm gonna open it up to make taking the work off of Sam and Meredith here. I'm looking at the chat here. Let's get some probing questions from.
Oh, now
from the
that's
chat.
interesting.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Let's
That's
do it.
interesting.
Let's go to
Professional producer. Yeah. Did some probing questions here. I will start just to give everybody a little bit of time.
Okay.
Wouldn't the only probing question be sort of, what card do you have?
Fuck.
Or what's your motive?
Could be.
Okay, you begin. You begin
No, you're just
now.
gonna ruin everything.
I'm sorry.
No, Ryan, let's start with you. Tell him, give me a couple sentences and say, plead your case.
I am not the werewolf. I've never been the werewolf. And furthermore, I hate werewolves. So, if you could help me find this werewolf, just point to them, and I'll fucking kill them.
Wow. Dang. Someone did ask. Sonny asked, "Is Ryan in actor mode?"
Yeah.
Fuck, France is up there, huh?
Look at him.
I'll fucking kill them.
That's actually interesting. That you're
I'll kill them.
Who asked
I'll
that?
kill
Sonny?
them.
Yeah.
Lit by the dim moonlight, and they'll look up at the moon and wonder, why was I ever a werewolf? It's the last thing they'll say on this earth as I kill them.
Okay.
Shane, it's your turn.
I guess I don't have to do a dramatic monologue. I'll just tell you I have the lantern.
Give me a couple sentences.
I I really don't have anything else to convince you here.
That Viola Witch said, how many sides are on the lantern?
How many sides?
Describe us the lantern from memory, and you saw it.
Well, can I not look at my card to look at it?
I'm asking Shane.
Oh, okay.
From memory,
But very good.
it had a little sort of base platform, and then it had two little, like the orb, the glass orb. And then it had a top with a little loop on it, and it had 3 little rays on each side.
What now, Matt?
I wasn't listening. I was reading the chat.
You got him. That was so good. You did.
I
so
did
good.
draw them.
I'm not making the decisions here. Much like we learned last week, I am the prosecutor.
You're God.
I'm leaving it up to
You're God.
yes, judge, jury, executioner. I am leaving it up to the jury.
Prosecutor mustache man.
It is fun to have a jury out there. Maybe we should
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
You need to be wiping your face with like a
It's kind of hot in here.
Should we call the live chat?
Why is there a chance
That's
I
made
might?
it boring. I was
I
gonna
don't
say, should we
understand
should we say like, hey, show up to jury duty this Friday for our Get Scared episode. All jurors, rise.
We always show where you.
If you don't tune in, you'll go to jail.
Why don't you stop stalling,
Oh
Steven?
shit!
Convince everybody
Oh,
you're not
this
the
is gonna be
werewolf.
rough.
All right, let me see my card.
Someone point.
Why do you have to remind yourself?
Yeah, why do you have to? You don't remember what you are?
So I have the
Let me look at my
lantern.
hand really quick.
It also.
Don't show the
I'm the werewolf. I
cameras.
forgot.
Can the camera see that?
Very close. Yeah.
Okay.
You're on your close-up, Steven.
Okay, so the lantern is a pretty cute little lantern. Nice and cute.
I don't buy it.
Okay.
I'm not buying it, buddy.
And I'm not the werewolf.
It's staying on the shelf.
I have a question for the werewolf participants.
Okay, great.
This is me, Matt.
I'm Matt.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I would like each of you now to convince me. We'll start with Steven this time. He's
Okay.
chugging water.
Dry mouth over there, huh? Dry mouth.
Tell me that you are the werewolf. I want to see you all do this.
Why would I do this?
But you are the werewolf?
Yeah, I want you to convince your camera.
You want me to say to my camera that
Yeah.
I am the
I
werewolf?
think this is helpful.
Okay.
This is interesting.
I am the werewolf.
It's kind of like I am Dracula.
I am the werewolf.
It's like an I am Dracula.
I am the werewolf.
I didn't know where that would go. That was actually kind of interesting.
It started being unconvincing, and then he owned it.
Yeah, it became the werewolf. Yeah. All right, Shane, tell the audience in your camera right no.
How?
Tell them that you are in fact.
Brother, you just
I'm not
can't
gonna
die.
sugarcoat it. I am the werewolf. I
No,
drew
we
the
finishing
skull.
this.
What does it look like?
I technically drew the skull.
What is it?
I was about to say. That's what I thought too.
Drew the skull.
That's what I thought
I,
too.
really need to get a clap on this.
When I saw it, I was like, "This sucks," because now I have to,
Lie.
lie about it.
Kill.
And but that's who I am. And if you vote for me being the werewolf, you will win.
Do you win do I win a prize if I'm the werewolf?
Oh, do we all vote?
What's in it for me for being the werewolf?
You can vote.
Not that I am the
I
werewolf.
guess we've put down our votes as well, huh?
We can vote.
You can put your vote. It will be irrelevant and it won't change anything, but you can vote. All right, Ryan, your turn.
Oh, which camera is this one? This one's.
The 1 point.
You know his camera.
I know.
Oh, this is my first time fighting in the snow like that.
I'm the werewolf.
If it's snowing, I think it should be snowing.
If you're wondering who the werewolf is, don't wonder anymore. It's right here. I'm the fucking werewolf. And if you have any doubt in your mind, erase it because I'm the werewolf.
Hell yeah, it
to
is
eat
snow.
people.
Yeah, I haven't fought in
I
snow
thought it was
like
my
that,
turn to
I don't think.
talk.
I don't remember if I
I
have.
thought it was my
It's
turn
in
to
my
talk.
blood, and I can't
That's
resist
crazy.
The poll
talking
is
about
currently
You
it.
know what's gonna
Vote
happen?
now, the
I'm
poll
gonna
is
use my big werewolf claws, and I'm gonna scratch.
I'm gonna strangle you.
I'm gonna scratch your nipples clean off your chest.
I'm voting. Can I share my vote? I'm voting for Ryan. I'm sorry. You just seem so nervous today.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if it was because of that or what, but I think you're the werewolf.
I do also vote Ryan.
That's a bad call.
Can I vote?
Yeah, you can vote.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it.
I think it's Steven.
Huh.
I also concur. I think it's Steven.
Huh.
I think it's Steven. Steven is the werewolf, not me.
I'm just joking. I didn't put a werewolf in that.
Did you really?
Oh,
Whoa.
that's interesting.
Wait, so it definitely is Ryan.
No, it's Steven.
I put werewolf. I'm just kidding.
What's the poll saying? What did the folks say?
That would have been good if you did that, though.
Yeah, it would have been a great way to cover up bad predictions.
Now, can we all agree before we reveal the poll results here?
We are killing the person who is voted the worst.
That wasn't where I'm going. That wasn't where I'm going, but I do like that. That's innovation that excites. But I will say
You can't kill what's already dead.
that if the poll shows itself to be incorrect, we could go ahead and wash away the hot dog ruling because this is a jury that's proven itself to not.
Damn.
That's pretty interesting.
You're a fucked up guy.
That's
I
a
just
witty
feel
thing
like-
to say.
I feel like
Fucked up guy,
if they
dude.
can't identify a
We should have
werewolf.
renamed the show "Fucked Up Guys."
If you can't
What up,
identify a
fogheads?
werewolf out of a lineup, you should not be entrusted to judge a hot dog.
Dang.
That's pretty
But
interesting.
okay, but if they're right,
If they're right, then then it stands. It's canon.
I just want to remind the chat and the audience that later you will be voting on who is the witchiest of the room today, and
That's true.
someone just
lied to you. Someone just lied to you.
okay.
someone just accosted you and threatened.
I don't know if I threatened.
No, I guess we all
Speaking truth.
lied and told the truth because we each gave them two.
That's right.
Two pitches.
That's a good point. Shane.
All right.
That's a good
I think
point.
we should give it another 10 seconds. Get those votes.
This
in.
is honestly thrilling.
Get those
I
fingers
love it.
tapped.
And I hope if you're watching this after the fact, you're still playing along. If you're listening to the podcast on Monday or watching it after the fact,
Yeah.
put in your votes. Put in your votes, folks. We want to hear from you.
This feels like I'm on American Idol.
Yeah, everybody in the YouTube comments should type in immediately who they think it is, and keep updating it as you
Now
change.
that's fun.
And then go later. and
Try
say,
to influence
And then
Yeah.
respond to your own comment and be like, "Fuck," or "I got it." That's right.
Yeah, that's
right.
good.
That's fun.
All right, the polls are closed.
Okay.
I think. Yes, the poll is closed. The overwhelming vote, actually, no, it's pretty close. 47% for Big Apple Steve.
What?
That's right. That's right.
For Big
That's
How
Apple.
right.
could you? I feel so betrayed.
Now, don't reveal anything just yet.
I just want to say that I am so sad.
That's crazy.
About that.
We always asking who the werewolf, not how the werewolf. And Steven right now is saying that he's very hurt.
Wow.
Oh,
He's-
like how is he doing?
Yeah.
How you doing,
Werewolf.
Where the who?
Wait, hold on. I'm not the werewolf though. Hold on.
All right, here's
I
what,
think
here's
you're
what
the
we do. We have 47% for Steven, 13% for Shane,
What? Oh, wait, that makes sense.
and 38% for Ryan. So what I'd like
Wow.
right now is, Steven, I would like you to show the audience your card, reveal it, and say, I have to say, I am, or
So excited.
whatever it is.
Oh, I voted for Ryan. Okay.
I have to say, I am the villager. I hate you all. I hate you all. You are all wrong, including you, Ryan.
Wow, you're not good at this game. Wow, dude.
What do you mean I'm not good at this game?
Wow, dude.
I deceived you all. Doesn't that mean I win?
If Steven got Ryan correctly, that technically is a point for him. We're not necessarily playing the same way.
Okay, it's a different game
So
now.
what I want now, Ryan, I want you to do the same thing. Show us what's up. Dirt camera.
All I have to say is,
Whoa!
I am not the werewolf. I'm not the werewolf. I'm a villager. You idiots. You fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And you were wrong about the hot dogs. You were wrong about the hot dogs.
Whoa!
I'll join in with you.
You also lost.
I am kidding.
Wait,
Does that mean I win?
why?
You definitely win.
Wait, can I just, Brian? Why were you so nervous?
Because I was trying to mess around.
Okay, that was dirty. That was a little
Messing around.
dirty move, you little dirty worm.
I was just messing around.
A lot of hurt people in the chat here
I'm
saying,
so
Sorry, I
I
called you all
trusted you.
idiots.
I'm so yeah, I know. Well, first of all, everybody betrayed me. Thank
And
you.
it's like a double win for me because I had the lowest amount of votes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
In a scenario in which the objective was to pinpoint the werewolf, the top 2 votes did exactly the opposite.
Wow.
So you would
Wow.
argue that in a poll in which you're trying to figure out what is or isn't a hot dog.
Hey, look, I'll concede. I don't care.
Great
If
job.
it means I
Good
won
job.
this, yeah, do whatever you want.
You certainly did.
Yeah.
You
Rules are
certainly did.
rules.
Jaw literally dropped, says Megan. Yeah.
Wow.
We're all.
Jaw feel?
Wow, we were all wrong. Everybody, every single one of us, except for 13% of you all.
I really did think it was you, Steven. I really did.
But why?
Because you had a fishy kind of aura to you.
See, that's the thing though, is people think I'm fishy even though I'm just being honest. I gotta go to my therapist about that. I don't know what that's all about.
I think it helps you only in this game.
No, I lost.
That's true.
We got time for an Estes, or should we save
Should
that
we
for
just
another
save that for another one maybe and get into the questions?
Are you dying for an Estes method out there?
Because it's going to have to be a quick one.
Chime off, and while they chime off, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick.
I see what you just did there. You
We'll be right back after this stream.
We're still here.
No, we're here still.
I think we can do a quick
Anybody?
Estes. I think we can do a quick Estes. Ryan, you prepared, yes.
Okay, so for those who don't know, the Estes method is when we take a spirit box and plug headphones into it, and then put those headphones on somebody who will just say whatever they hear from the spirit box, becoming essentially a speaker, if you will, a giant Bluetooth human speaker. And then I will use them to channel my conversations with the ghosts. So anything that the person in the headphones hears, they'll say, and I can use them to talk to these ghosts. So, actually, I think it'd be really fun to put Steven in the headphones.
Yeah, we'll put Steven on. We'll go ahead and have Steven do it. Shane's done it many times.
That's true.
We'll have Steven do it.
Should we start it now?
Yeah, we can start
Okay,
it now.
great. Wait, let me get that. Where's the spirit box? It's right
Once I
there.
plug this in, you're only going to hear this. I'm logged in?
All right, everybody, we're doing the live Estes method here.
Wait, can we... Okay.
Just say whatever you hear, Steven.
All right.
Alright, I hear, like, radio, like, I hear music radio.
What?
Like, I'm flipping through the channels on the radio right now.
Just say whatever you hear. Say whatever you hear. Whatever voices you hear.
I see.
Okay. I guess Spirits of Watcher HQ.
This is fun.
That.
Why did you just wipe your wet hands on my hand?
No, I wanted to prove that I washed my hands.
Now I just think
Boomby.
you pissed all over my hands.
No, I washed my hands, so I wanted to put my...
Stop
to feel it.
touching me with the wet
This is a
hands.
live stream. I
This
gotta,
is...
Yeah, certainly was a live stream. Okay.
This looks incredible.
7
by the way.
o'clock.
Does it look good? Should all our episodes be
So
this dark? and
what
scary?
happened at 7 o'clock? I'm sorry, Spirit. I was
Oh,
distracted.
Steven's doing it.
Yeah, Steven is locked in.
Jeans?
Yes, I'm wearing jeans.
Oh, I've never...
Okay. So we are here at Watcher HQ, and technically you could open up a door.
Fly away!
I'm not going to fly away. I'm going to stay
Ryan,
here.
have you ever experienced ominous things here at the office? Has
Hermit.
anyone?
Not this office. The other one I had, though. Who's a hermit? Are you a hermit? Would you say that you like staying at home?
Foo?
Foo.
Fighters? Dave Grohl.
Sounds like I'm talking.
Dark
Sounds like I'm
Knight.
talking to one of my uncles.
Dark Knight?
Dark. Okay, dark.
Shane Party.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Shane does party. Do you party?
Let's go!
I'd love to go. I'd love to. It's Friday night, Spirit.
Is this a new series, Shane Party?
Where would you like to party? We're in LA. Spirit. Can you tell us your name?
Mexican?
Okay, well
Careful,
that's
Spirit.
a little racist. Okay, I mean, no one typically knows.
Funding for...
Okay,
Mexican funding for Shane Party?
Love.
Oh, okay. Well, we all want love.
We all want love, don't we?
Do you want love?
Ah!
Oh.
I want love, but it's impossible. That one, folks.
We're trying to see if our office is haunted. Whoever I'm talking to, could you please tell me your name?
One is only.
One is only. What does that mean?
Consumers.
One is only. Fucking TED Talk ghost are we talking to here? One is only what? Who's the one that I'm talking to?
Something in Spanish I don't understand.
Okay. Just tell me your name.
Ignorance.
If it's ¿Cómo te llamas?
Reward.
Okay, well that didn't work. What's the reward? No, first off, just to prove I am talking to somebody right now, could you please tell me your name? That would be very helpful. My name is Ryan. Can you say Ryan, or can you say your name?
I'm Shane. What's your name?
Say your name. It's very simple. Just say your name, please. We'd love to talk.
Homeowner.
Okay,
that's
I'm
just
glad there was another syllable.
Very braggadocious of you. Okay. What is the name of said homeowner, please?
Blood.
Your name is
Blood
not.
the homeowner.
Your name is not Blood. Okay. Is Is that like your nickname or something like that?
Starting.
Blood starting. That sounds scary.
Okay, we're not getting anywhere.
Closing.
I want people
Taste.
listening to know that when we go on ghost hunts,
Fun.
this goes on for 20 minutes. And it is.
Yeah, but what you don't understand is sometimes it actually is very compelling and you're clearly talking to something. Whereas, like, right now, I just feel like we're hearing random words.
Because it might not be haunted.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe
Huge part.
Huge part. Okay.
Oh, maybe for Ryan. Maybe.
Oh,
I don't think so.
huge part. Like in a movie.
Or the pit. What is the name?
Maybe the pit. They'll show it.
I'll ask one last time just to see, get it.
Winner.
Okay,
Huge
now
part winner.
I want to establish a baseline. Can you please
Medical.
Can you please tell me your name? Oh.
Huge part winner. Medical. You're going to be on the pit.
Can you please tell
They're going to
me
wheel
your
you in. You're going to go, I get myself there.
Need now. I need your name right now. Please tell me your name. We're recording live. There's a lot of people listening to you. Right
You're
now.
live.
Baby.
You're live, baby.
You're live, baby.
Yeah.
What's your
How long do I go for, by the way? This is me
This
talking.
is a question I'm always asking
I could do this forever.
on set when we do this.
See, they'll pull you out a little bit longer. A little bit longer.
Okay, keep going. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Go for another minute. I don't know.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
You have
I'm putting
1
1
minute,
minute on the
Spirit?
clock, Spirit. Please tell us your name or we're gonna hang up the phone.
Wait. Now it sounds. He's. Wait.
What's he doing?
Sorry. This is me
Bro, I
talking.
had 2,000. 2,000.
Before.
I only had
What?
900.
Before.
That's
Tell-
crazy
you
work.
Have a minute, dude.
40 seconds.
If I'm actually talking to somebody right now, you have 1 minute to
You're
tell
like-
me your name.
There's 250,000 people watching right now.
I don't think so.
What do you want?
Close.
I just told you what I wanted, which is your name.
20 seconds.
Okay, yeah, you have about 20 seconds. That's actually pretty compelling. If you tell me your name in 20 seconds, I'll keep this going.
YOLO.
No.
Now it's Steven talking.
Yeah, he switched to Steven.
10 seconds.
Bottles drawn.
9, 8, 7,
Say when.
6,
Yeah.
5, 4. No, you blew it.
Window.
Nope, your window's gone.
All right.
So pull Steven out. Pull
That's
Steven
it.
out.
Steven, you're done. Thank you.
How was that?
That was good.
Well, I don't think we actually got anywhere, to be honest.
The fact that it's not illuminating is interesting in and of itself, isn't
That's
it?
right.
Because we learned
this place is not haunted.
this place is clear.
Clean.
Clean.
I turn on the spirit box every room I enter.
You do. You don't go anywhere without that thing.
Public
So
restrooms,
when you do that-
movie theaters,
Method.
restaurants.
Sorry, insincerity. Are you actually getting good data at some places that
Some places,
are
yeah.
more haunted?
At some places, yeah.
Okay, so like actually me getting nothing out of this was like affirming to this method.
I mean, I also still believe that you could do it anywhere. Anywhere you call out for something, you could get something to answer that call.
Even a non-haunted space?
Yeah, because you're opening a door for something, so it could be good or bad. I would recommend not doing that at your home. I don't do it at my home. Certainly, Mari would kill me.
Very Stranger Things-esque.
So, why mess with it?
True.
I
Great.
don't mess with
agree.
that stuff.
Okay.
Well, how fun was that? We have some time for some questions.
Hey.
We got a little. This is the first time we've done mail time on Get Scared.
And then we're doing a witch wolf.
Oh, yeah, it is.
You can still the polls are still not open yet, but the voting has not happened yet for the Witch of the Room. We will be crowning episode 75's Witch of the Room, and I think there's 3 great candidates.
Oh, yeah. I took him for a spin with that first werewolf.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm not above witchiness
You're very-
tonight. I'll tell you that.
A nasty man. You're a nasty, nasty boy.
Maybe we should get that witch poll up like halfway through the questions so people can marinate on it.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
great.
like it.
Let me do my job.
Micromanaging from this side of the mic.
Very witchy of you to do
Pretty
that.
witchy.
That's a witchy
Pretty witchy,
thing
but
to
also
do.
pretty witchy of you.
Yeah,
But you're not in the run. Are you in the running?
He is.
I
You
didn't think
should
so.
be.
I wouldn't have said
Let's
that if
be
I thought
real.
I was going to be. All right. Before, does everybody understand in the chat what the Witch of the Room is? Because we didn't. We said that we were going to do a primer, but we didn't really do a primer.
I think it would be fun to revisit real quick, just
All right.
as a primer.
Real quick, we're going to watch the clip from where the Witch of the Room originated. So let's take a quick look at that right now.
And do we need the context that it refers to the xenomorph Samara?
We were doing a poll about. I don't think you need that context.
Okay.
Let me see. We and I'm not going to lead you at all, but we had a horror villain icon tournament here, and who would you choose? Final word here from Aubrey from the Sorrel Weed House. Who would you choose as the most iconic horror villain between Samara Morgan and the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise?
I like the hesitation and the deep thought.
Yes, please. Thank you.
I do like that.
Just because I've already had like a weird situation with it, I'm gonna stick with Samara.
Let's go. Let's.
I mean, it is a.
Seems fair.
Ryan, it's a matter of opinion. Let's.
I did.
Now it's a matter of opinion. But when it was my opinion, it was like I was the witch. I was the witch of the witch of the room.
You were the witch. You were the witch of the room.
Unbelievable. I'm burned at the
Every
stake.
week we pick a witch of the room.
Metaphorically.
And I guess this week it's me.
And you know what? A lot of people in the comments did agree. They were
And
saying,
then a lot of people disagree.
And there was a lot of people that did agree. There's a lot of people that did agree.
Boy, it's happening again.
I did say that Aubrey was the final word on it. And
You
so
did say you. Yeah, that's right.
I'm not happy about it. But
Chill out.
So that's the primer for you. We'll be throwing that poll up in just a little bit. Who is the witchiest of the room today here on episode 75? Can you even believe it?
75. It's a lot. What do we do for 100?
Will we make it?
100 hot dogs. That's 100 hot dogs. 100 hot dogs. We don't leave this room until we finish them.
That seems like a really bad episode of a podcast.
How is it?
I'm not good for 25.
Can you eat 25 hot dogs?
Well, now if we can do it without the bun, sure. Could we do it?
That sounds so gross. It sounds so gross.
Yeah.
They're not that big.
That's a Watcher TV exclusive for sure. All right, let's get into the questions here. We got.
These are coming straight from you. Oh, and here comes the old mail truck. But it's a get scared mail truck now, and it's got
Pandemic Shane
me
is a witch.
as the mail hag.
That's pretty good.
Driving that car.
You're the witch there.
Like every time, we haven't said it in a while, so I'm gonna say it again. Oh, this light got so bright. If you have a voicemail, if you want to leave us a voicemail of your question, give us a call at 818-275-4585. That's 818 you ask I Luke. You can also give us an email at askwatcherpod@gmail.com. You can also send us a message at GetScaredPod on Instagram. Woo! There you go.
All of those.
All right, this one comes from Ryan, and we'll be a little quick on these.
Ryan?
Get through so many.
It comes from Ryan?
This one comes from Ryan Campbell.
Oh,
If you could dispense a different liquid from each of your 5 fingers, what would you choose?
I thought they were going to say...
Wow.
I thought they were going to say holes.
It's like that alien from Signs in Scary Movie 3. Let's see.
Different from each of them.
Wow.
See, this is what...
This is
What
good.
did I do with my pencil? Because now I want to write this down.
This is good because I think about it like colors. Like, do you want to have like the primary colors, and then you can make more colors with those colors, or do you want to have highly specific fingers where you're actually making like?
I'm gonna go straight from the top of the dome here, and just gonna go. One finger's gonna be Corona, which is a bottle of beer.
Smart.
Okay.
Second,
You're drinking your own bodily fluids, though.
second
It's
finger.
fine.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Extremely quick answer on that.
Second one would probably coffee. Third, maybe some some Arnold Palmer. Is that possible? Could I make it an Arnold Palmer?
No, that's two different. That's two
No, you
different
can though.
So I'd have to
No,
use
but
my
that's two
pinky.
different liquids.
Okay.
So you have
then
to go Arnold and then Palmer.
I get one finger's gonna be water because you would need that, and that would be helpful if you were stranded somewhere.
Water's a good one.
I probably would do.
What kind of water?
I mean,
LaCroix.
no. Heavy still.
Like
I just want still
Fiji?
water. No, I just want like
Smart
actually, you know what?
water?
My favorite water, Kirkland water.
Kirkland. Good choice.
And then my thumb would dispense. What would it dispense? It would dispense. You know what? Tequila. And then my fifth.
You would be like,
I could give myself a thumbs up. And then my pinky would then dispense for my final liquid. Let's see. I want to say milk, but I don't drink that much milk.
Then why would you say milk?
but then you could,
Because it's good in situations like
Yeah.
if you had a chocolate chip cookie,
or
if
you have a baby.
You know what? I'll go milk tea.
Could finger feed.
My last finger will be milk tea.
You're locked in on those.
I'm locked
Now,
in.
anything they say, you can't go back.
That's fine. No, you know what? I'm changing
No,
it.
you're
No,
locked in.
wait.
I just said you're locked in.
Wait. You didn't go. Once they said something, no, you said I'm locked in. So because I realized pinky, by the way, milk tea, that's 2 liquids. I can't even do that.
Oh, good. Okay, all right.
So my pinky is
Wow,
actually going to dispense ranch.
Ugh. Is that a liquid?
That's a liquid.
Liquid.
I think
I'll give it to you.
When are you going to need that? All the time.
Steven, any thoughts?
I don't love
You're
his
in your middle
choices.
Why are you just flicking off the?
I'm going through my fingers.
That's how my grandma used to point. She used to point legitimately with her
Only at you?
with her middle finger, only at me.
Is it like an American cultural thing to flick somebody off, or like because I don't know. Anyway, all right, 5 fingers, 5 drinks. I'm gonna go with
5 drinks.
Okay, fine. 5 liquids. 5 liquids.
I'm just helping you out.
Thank you. Well, you guys know what the first one's gonna be. It's gonna be matcha green tea,
Yeah.
obviously. And then to be able to make that into a latte, I gotta go oat milk. So I got matcha and oat milk as the first 2.
It's very creepy.
Okay, I do gotta go water, cause you could see me in any stranded situation. I would be able to provide people with water. I'd be the ball.
Let me stick my finger in your
the
mouth.
bell of the ball.
Open up.
You could put it in a cup.
I know, but it'd be funny if you're like, ah. I love that.
I'm trying to think of like what is a very something that you could sell, because if I'm gonna be working, I want to be making some money here, right? So I want to
Yeah.
put some time in. So what is like a
Steven's finger juice.
oh, I don't know. I mean this is not okay. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. It's gonna be disgusting.
Oh God.
But one of the
Okay. Thought that was the liquid for a second.
one of the things about and I don't know. I've explained this before. I'm expecting a child relatively soon, and getting prepared for it. And so one of the things that as the guy, I can't help on a lot of things, right? I can't help with carrying the baby or breastfeeding. But if I could help my wife in any way possible, I would.
So breast milk.
So breast milk. And that shit is
really sweet.
valuable too.
Yeah, you could sell that.
More valuable than formula.
Stephen Lim's breast milk. That's right.
Steven Lim's finger.
Stephen Lim's. Let me get some of that booby juice, Stephen. Please.
Good intentions.
Nosferatu.
Maybe
Finger
not
licking good.
And then the last one, Diet Coke. Everybody loves Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
Everybody loves Diet Coke.
It's good.
That's good.
All right.
Okay, I wrote mine down. I've got all my fingers mapped. Thumb Coke Zero.
Oh, specifically the fingers.
Thumb Coke Zero, because
You did that.
Well, I was going through.
well, and
my
I'm
fingers.
thinking about it strategically. So Coke Zero, because if you give someone a thumbs up,
It comes out.
and you can give them like a little taste of Coca-Cola.
Wait, does this mean that I could never give a thumbs up again? Because every time I do
I
that,
think you can control it. It's not like let's gonna shoot.
that sounds good. Sorry.
Index finger. This is the index, right? Coffee.
Nice.
Hot coffee.
Ouch.
Light roast.
Coffee.
Middle finger half and half.
Okay.
And that's strategic because I can take these 2 and just into a mug.
Dump them.
And I can dump them.
You dump
That's good.
yourself in that mug.
The other, what finger is it? Ring finger. Seltzer.
Okay.
Now I know I can make seltzer at home. I could just do a little,
Yeah.
But I like seltzer water. Okay, yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I want some fresh seltzer.
No one's arguing with you, dude.
We all like
And
seltzer.
my pinky's for milk.
What kind of milk?
And I know I've got half and half and milk.
Wait.
You're
I
creamy.
really
You can't
am.
have half and half. Sorry, I was paying attention.
The
to something
creamy
else.
Whole milk?
That's
I can
2
have
liquids.
half and half.
No, that's 2 different liquids.
It's literally half.
Well,
and
what
half.
is Coca-Cola? It's made up of a bunch of
We're
different
allowing
liquids.
That, but I think
No.
In the interest of moving
You're
on,
getting pretty witchy over there, if you ask me. Trying to impose your witchy rules on me about
What is
about
half
my
and half is
pinky
milk and
milk?
cream?
I think so.
So then why wouldn't you just go milk cream?
Yeah, instead of
I have no use for cream.
No,
On its
for
own.
half and half.
Yeah, I think it would make more
I guess
sense.
maybe there's a world where I could
For cats.
use some cream.
That's right.
I guess maybe there's a world where I could use some pinky cream.
That's right.
Yeah. That sounds pretty nice,
sus.
actually.
All right, let's move on. We're a little
Shane
over
just
here.
creamed himself.
We're a little over here, but
Can you imagine shaking someone's hand and all your liquids? Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, so sorry.
Sorry, I got a little Coke Zero and
Try to
coffee
get a
and
handle
half
on
and
that.
half and seltzer and
Happens when I get excited.
breast milk on you.
oh my god, I want to get through some more of these questions here.
Zamboni.
But this question is from Patricia, and this is just for Ryan. Who else can take a seat? Other than I am not my age, how do you enjoy comic book readers?
Huh. That is a good question, I guess. I just kind of put myself in situations that I'm scared of, and then
What do you call it? Like exposure therapy?
it's like exposure therapy. I just let the gods decide, and hopefully over time I could build a resilience.
Are there, if you're comfortable sharing this, are there like other concrete examples of times that you've done that?
Any new endeavor I've ever done in my life, like
Really?
sports or even acting, stuff like that, things
Yeah.
that have scared the hell out of me, I've always tried to go out of my way to do them.
That's great.
Because then you find out something every time. That's that. Just put yourself.
Acting scares you?
Of course, it's one of the most vulnerable, raw things you could do. In my opinion.
That's what we were saying when we were on the set of The Rookie.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. No, I just think it's good to put yourself in situations where you're scared. It's the only time you really grow.
And that's why this show's called Get Scared, because we want you to grow.
So it really should be called
That's why
Get
we-
Grow.
This is about, it should be called, no.
Okay.
I'll say that about a year ago, like not today, but this time last year, I decided that I was gonna start doing things that scared me, and just if the fear was the reason I wasn't doing them, I was just gonna check it off.
Exactly.
What was
And it's like stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
and like being on stage and doing like kind of improv and clown stuff and all sorts of things.
Was it scary?
Gotcha.
They're always scary.
It's
It's
always
scary every time, but you do grow.
You grew.
Get Grow.
Get
I'm
grow.
pitching it.
All right.
I'll put a poll up.
It doesn't
You can't stop me.
You don't know how to put a poll.
really make sense.
I don't know. I'll put one up on my Instagram.
Get
There you
Grow
go.
doesn't really.
Should we change the name again 2 weeks later?
Yeah, you guys all into that?
Get grow.
All right, next question here. Let's see. This comes from Birdie.
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 Birdie. Banger.
Would you rather have one of the other guys or your wife pick a scary adventure to go on? And who would pick the scary adventure for you? Like, if you had to go on a scary adventure, would you prefer to leave it up to the other two in the room?
Heck no.
No, I definitely would have my wife pick that.
Yeah,
because
I think we'd all have our
she would be
Oh,
nice.
yeah. Yeah, well, I wouldn't
Sarah
mind
would be-
Shane doing it, but Ryan, I feel like would try to kill me.
Ryan would be the worst person. Sarah would be very concerned about my safety, so
That's smart.
you know. I don't know what kind of a scary adventure she would send me on. If the directive were to send us on a scary adventure,
Yeah,
what do you think your wives would send you on? Look, truly, and if the criteria was it has to be scary, scary adventure.
Therapy? I'm just kidding. I go to therapy. Which is scary.
Diving into yourself, the scariest thing.
I think you would pick something less scary than my wife would. I think my wife would have a sick joy from sending me on a scary mission. That's why I love her.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like Sarah would have a very hard time doing that because she doesn't,
She wants you to come back.
Come back.
Would Mari do something scary, or do you think she'd do a mild scary thing?
I think she would do a mild, scary thing because it's kind of funny to her, but she doesn't have it in her to do something that would be truly sinister.
But you like that though.
That she's like that?
No, you like going through very scary scenarios.
Doesn't mean she likes me going through them.
I see.
If I had to pick for Ryan, I would have him waterboarded.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
If I had to pick for Shane, I would make him spend a full day, where he has
On heroin.
no option to exit the situation, where he would have to be lockstep with Byron and I at a theme park.
That sounds rough.
At least.
There's your answer. All right, and I gotta pick.
We're rope dropping.
I gotta do one more here. One more question. This comes from Mary. And try and think back. And I feel like we all might have this. And I know that, we try not to spring these questions on you normally when we do the pod. But these came just now.
That's right.
Yeah.
But this comes from Mary.
Something about her.
All right.
Oh, I was going to say, she's quite contrary.
Stephen, would you like to?
You did something from 1998, and I did something from 1920.
Nice.
All right.
I don't want to. The poll is live, by the way, so I don't want to say anything anymore.
You don't want to participate? Bit witchy.
That is pretty witchy of you.
No, I want to participate. I want to participate in a way that's constructive and helpful to the conversation.
Here's the question: what is your earliest memory of being scared? Now we've talked a lot about. Oh my gosh, we've talked a lot about movie scenes that scared us. Audience,
Real life things.
Next week's episode is so fun. We can I spoil it?
Yeah.
We put Stephen through a ton of really scary horror movie scenes.
Oh yeah, it's so awesome.
Yeah,
He's screaming the whole time.
You know when I went home
Sometimes
that
he
night?
just goes catatonic.
I did. I went home and I just lied in bed and stared at the ceiling for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was very scary.
Pretty good.
Very stressful.
So that'll be out next week. That'll be a very fun app. Yeah. Do you have a first memory of being really
I
scared?
do. I don't remember what movie I saw, but I saw a scary movie at my friend's place for Halloween, and I ran home. I ran home through the woods.
Through the woods?
Yes, at night. It's not that far. It was like a 3-minute run, but that was the scariest earliest memory.
And I'm curious before you all answer. I have a thing where like my memories before the age of 10 or whatever. I have a hard time, especially like when you get to like if you're saying your first memory. I don't know like what was first. Like I don't have a chronological.
Well, no one's gonna be able to check you on this. So just
No, but I'm asking, do you guys? I'm curious if you guys have that. Are you like, yes, that was the first time I was scared?
It's not the first time, but
I can think of moments when I was a child that I was like, oh, this is what the world is.
Sure.
I don't think I like it all that much. You can take my
That's
dog.
scary.
I flipped over when I was in a pool and I flipped over in a raft. And I was maybe.
That's scary.
I was very scared.
Because you almost died.
Yeah, I got close to death.
Okay.
I love grinding the shows.
Yeah, I know, because
No, I wanted to live in that
trying to
moment.
think of like one thing that scared him.
No, I have memory. I don't know which one. I've talked before about the time a husky chased me in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was very scary.
oh, it was a husky.
It was a husky. And I ran into a neighbor's house. A neighbor who I didn't know. And I was like, let me in, there's a dog chasing me.
Yeah.
They let me in, and they were like, who are you? And they were very nice. They were like, come on in. But the other thing that I remember vividly is going to like a local haunted house. One of the classic like Halloween haunted houses.
Yeah.
Where it's like a maze almost. It was like a bunch of. It was like the teen youth putting it on. Organization or something. And I was very young, and I was very scared of it. And my brother was a little older, so he was excited. My parents were excited. And they were taking me, and I had built it up in my head as this very scary thing. Loud music, flashing lights, people in masks. And I remember just.
Damn, I can't believe I lost that.
My mom was carrying me, or my dad was, I can't remember who, and I was just like, just grabbing them. And I was crying as they were taking me through it. I was like, I don't like this.
Oh my
And then one of the masked people jumped out, and they were like, ah! And I was like, ah! And they were like, hello. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like in that moment, they recognized here's a screaming child. I'll give him a little wave, and and it made me feel a lot better. And that was the last time I was ever.
Kind of said never again on this.
Maybe kind of.
I don't know if I remember a specific instance, but I just know that I was very, very concerned about vampires.
Alright, whatever. We'll see what
Very,
happens.
very, very vividly.
Touched on that.
Like, I remember to the point where I had wanted to go to sleep with like a turtleneck on.
You could still do that.
And that wouldn't even really work.
Well, I figured because of the turtleneck, the vampire would have to peel the turtleneck down to bite me on the neck,
And that would wake you up.
that would wake me up.
Yeah.
So
Oh, shit.
sometimes I would actually go to sleep and wrap a blanket around my neck,
It's pretty cool.
not like in a weird way, but
Sure.
like
Nobody was thinking that.
You've said this before. We're moving on.
What
You know what I'm talking about.
That vampire would be like, that. I gotta unravel that sheet from that kid's neck.
Stop talking.
Not worth it. Not worth it. It's not worth it.
All right. Thank you so much for the question. Sorry we didn't get to everybody's. We did this show. We wanted to really pack the live up.
That was exciting though. Getting live questions.
It
That was really fun.
It was fun. One last thing before we get out of here. The Witch of the Room.
The Witch of the Room.
You know what they say? DWOTD. W.
Who's it gonna be?
Damn it.
The Witch OTR.
Oh,
This is like in the
ODW.
Oscars when they show the
ODR.
people's faces when they're nominated and they're like,
Yeah, I should have done that.
DWODR.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it a little.
Oh, you should have a speech. Winner gets a speech.
Winner gets a speech.
Whoever wins deserves it.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna just kind of do the roulette here. Who is it gonna be? Beep boop bop boop beep boop.
Are you gonna land on the winner?
Episode 75. Witch of the Room.
That's
And he's
very-
doing it
Oh my
right
God, it's
now.
me, everybody.
He's doing
That's
it
well
right
deserved.
now.
It's because I boomed their asses in Werewolf. I think we all know.
That's so well deserved.
I think everybody
Thank you.
nailed it.
Thank you.
I think everybody
appreciate
nailed it.
I worked hard for it, and I earned it. And yeah, I'll be honest, I'm the Witch of the Room.
That's true.
When I walked in here, I thought, I don't know if they're going to figure out that I'm the Witch of the Room.
Yeah.
But I
Kind of
have
a
to.
prolonged werewolf.
Yeah.
You were doing the long game.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you, everyone. I'm very honored, very touched. I don't know if I should be, but I am. Folks,
Okay.
That was a great app.
this was a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining us live tonight. If you're watching or listening on Monday, we hope you've enjoyed listening to the live version of this. We hope to do more of these, so we're always welcome to feedback if you want. We'd love to do more of these lives.
Yeah, this was a ton of
A
fun.
lot of fun. Like we said, we're also doing a live debrief a week from Friday, which will be very exciting. We're going to be doing that on Watch TV. You can get that where your apps are harbored. So look for that. Anything else to say before we go? Big thanks to Meredith and Sam for monitoring the comments over there and keeping those polls up.
I really need to get claps in here.
And of course,
I just have to say,
Nice.
and of course, Matt and Riel on the ones and twos.
Matt.
For pioneering this live technology.
That's right.
sleep for 3 days.
That's going to do it for us, everyone. Thank you again so much for being here. We've had a great time tonight. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. And we'll see you next time.
See you all later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. This video contains content that some might find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Do you remember any spooky childhood stories your parents used to tell you? Or creepy local legends that circulated among the neighborhood kids? These stories, whether meant to scare, entertain, or offer warnings about danger, can carry a hidden layer of truth. Tonight, our narrator unfolds a haunting childhood story. One he's struggled to forget. I'm Brian Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? The show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it till the end of the night. No quiet.
us next time for more spooky mystery.
And cut. That's lunch, everybody.
Good job, Shane.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, you know, I sure do love lunchtime, almost as much as I love today's episode sponsor, Upside. Now, the free Upside app gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas, groceries, and dining. With over 100,000 gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants on the Upside app, ensuring that cash back is always just around the corner. And yes, it's real cash back. Check this out. I was craving Thai food for lunch today. I just opened the app, claimed the offer, picked up my takeout, and paid as usual with my credit card, followed the steps in the app, and I just got paid. This offer was too good to pass up. The cash will appear in my Upside account, and I can cash out at any time through bank transfer, PayPal, or any gift card. Top Upside earners are making as much as $300 a month. To find out how much you can earn, click the link in the description to download Upside and use code WATCHER to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. Or scan the QR code here to claim this offer. And now, without further ado, I think it's lunchtime. Oh boy, I can't wait. I'm starving.
Okay, that's lunch. Bye, everybody.
Spend smarter today with the free Upside app.
I was born and raised in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Unless you live nearby, you've probably never heard of it. People living in the larger Wisconsin cities, your Madisons and Milwaukees, don't even know we exist.
That's not true. I know about Sheboygan.
What is Sheboygan?
It's a town in Wisconsin.
It's because I was thinking of that spotted cow. I know about you.
He
Wisconsin.
knows. He knows.
I know. You and your cheese.
Mars Cheese Castle. Oh, shit. It's really good.
Wisconsin is known for our cheese, our cows, and our beer.
See? I told you I knew you, Wisconsin. I know you.
And of course, for our abundance of psychiatric hospitals and serial killers.
Didn't know about that.
Little Jeffy Dahmer.
He was from there, too?
I think that was near Milwaukee, was it not?
Oh, man.
Yeah, Midwest got a lot of serial killers.
Jeffrey Dahmer and Ed Gein also hail from my home state.
Ed Gein was from there, too? Holy shit, Wisconsin. What the fuck?
It's a real sick.
Ed Gein was fucked up. He had, like, nipples for telephones and stuff like that. And, like,
I think he had a little more than nipples on telephone. I don't think it was like, oh, the phone's ringing. Nipples, nipples, you know. It was like he made like
well, that wouldn't mean the phone would say nipple.
Weren't a lot of those, nipple.
In case you lack basic knowledge of current events or popular culture, they're two of the most infamous serial killers in America. I don't know if it's the cold climate or what, but we seem to breed a bit of crazy up here. And Sheboygan is no exception.
Look, this is your folk. That's touching your borders, right?
No, yeah, I mean, you know, we got beef with Wisconsin. I think everyone, they don't like us up there. They call us fish.
What do you call them?
We don't think about them. But it's like that thing, you know, like in California, like the people in San Francisco are always like, LA, we don't like you. And everyone in LA is like, what are you saying up there?
We have an old abandoned asylum along the highway. Here's a picture of it from an old postcard.
Ooh, we should go investigate that for Ghost Files.
I'd go to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Have some spotted cow.
Spotted cow from New Blair's Brewing.
It used to house people judged criminally insane, at least according to local lore, and it's where the legend of Milk White first began.
You like milk?
No, not really. I don't drink it.
Growing up, did you have milk?
Yeah, but I mean...
How often?
Well, clearly not that often.
I liked to have milk with dinner.
That makes sense. That's probably why you're so tall.
Yeah.
I drank a lot of Dr. Pepper.
Never broke a bone either because of all the milk I drank.
Well, I've never drank a bone either.
I said never broke a bone, not drank a bone, you idiot.
Wait, I didn't say drank a bone.
Yes, you did. You said drank a bone.
Did I say drank a bone?
He said I never drank a bone.
Actually, that's actually not
His
even...
brain's no good. He's sundown.
And that's actually not even true because I have drank a bone. I've had bone soup.
Yeah, you got me there.
And I had
That's
bone
also
marrow.
tasty.
And bone marrow.
Yeah, you love that stuff.
I love boning.
The first time I heard Milk White's story, I was 6. The story goes that Milk White's mother was an inmate at the asylum. She was incarcerated while she was pregnant, and he was born right there, behind bars. No one knew what to do with him, so he just crawled around the asylum, eating scraps.
That happens all the time. Don't people have babies in prison, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, like, that happens in zoos, too, all the time, too, as well.
Yeah.
Born in captivity. They're both sad.
Sure. So people in prison to you would describe them as animals.
No, I'm just saying.
That's what you're.
No. What I'm saying is.
We got him.
I'm saying.
We got him.
I'm saying.
Ryan McGar's canceled, everybody.
Growing up in the institution, Milk White learned madness from its patients. There were no other children in the asylum to play with. He grew to despise the daylight and turned nocturnal, sleeping until the sun went down. They say because he never went outside, his skin was pale and waxen, and his teeth were sharp, like rows of little white knives. Something in him had changed. Eventually, he figured out how to get in and out of the asylum unnoticed.
You got in and out in the asylum? I didn't know DoorDash delivered to those places.
Internet's on DoorDash, sadly. Desperate for friends, he would leave every night and travel into the city, peering into bedroom windows to see if you were still awake. If he found you still up, he would pry open the window and snatch you, taking the kids he found back to the asylum.
Well, that's illegal.
Yeah,
Okay.
kidnapping is illegal.
It just seems weird that this is common knowledge. Like, oh, be careful, there's a pale Baraka boy coming around, and
If I saw his pale little face in my window and I was a kid, I'd shoot him. With a slingshot or something.
yeah. You didn't have your katana yet.
Didn't have my katana. But children are loud, unruly creatures who'd scream when they saw him. So he'd open his jaw wide and use his sharp teeth to chomp their necks. Finally, peace and quiet. He'd bring their bodies back to the asylum basement, where he'd prop them up to play, pretending he had an entire room of friends. He would sing them nursery rhymes in the dead of night. I got a question. He does this one time. Don't you think they shut that down after the first time? It seems to suggest that he does this regularly. Gets out of the asylum, brings back little dead kids, plays around with them.
Look, we're not here to poke holes in the story, Ryan. We're here to dance with it. Even if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever and was written by a 7-year-old.
Okay, I'll take off my laundry cap.
Yeah.
And I'll put on my fun cap. Oh, kids are dying. That's not very fun. Take that
No,
fun
we
cap
have to
off,
have fun
and
with
I'll
it.
put on
Kids
my
are
murder
dying.
Cap. Oh, yeah. Now let's get to
What
murder.
cheer?
This was the story used by parents to scare their misbehaving children.
Oh,
Okay,
he's not real.
He's not real. Go to sleep, or else Milk White will come for you. I know it doesn't make much sense, scaring your kids so they fall asleep, but I don't know what to tell you. Don't knock it till you've tried it, I guess. The asylum was shut down a long time ago, but they say Milk White still lives in the abandoned building, going out at night and bringing back the bodies of any kid awake late at night. Milk White was regarded as an urban legend in Sheboygan, and we had a creepy little rhyme kids would use on the playground to scare each other. It went, hush, now, sleep tight, or else beware of Milk White. He doesn't fuss, he doesn't fight, he'll kill you dead with just one bite.
Is this a real thing?
I'm sure.
You know, these people are liars. They always make this shit up. All this shit's fake.
But us Mexicans, we got La Llorona. I imagine white people have their version of La Llorona.
I don't think we did.
Your mom never sat you down and said, this thing's gonna come kill you if you don't pick up your socks?
I guess not. You know, she told me pick up your socks.
But no.
There were no threats of imminent death.
My best friend Hans and I fully believed the myth right up until middle school, until a new kid moved to town. He was from New York City, so naturally we knew he was way cooler than both of us. I don't know about that. I knew a lot of a-holes from New York City. His name was Jimmy. He had a New York accent and everything. He wore chucks and had a leather jacket he'd wear year-round, even in the summer. What is this guy, the fucking Bonds? Hey, what's up? I'm Jimmy. Hey, you got any bagels, Sheboygan, huh? Sheboygan. I do some Sheboygan down in New York myself. So naturally, we befriended him. Hans and I weren't exactly cool, so it was a big deal for Jimmy to be hanging out with us. I was your stereotypical scrawny middle schooler. I wasn't particularly special, but I guess I was a good kid. Hans, on the other hand, was by no means the sharpest tool in the shed. Not by a long shot. By middle school, he'd been held back 3 times, and for that reason, he was a head taller than the rest of us. But Jimmy had all the confidence. He could talk to girls and get himself out of trouble with just a smile and a wink. He was a raging know-it-all, and he never stopped talking about how lame he thought Sheboygan was.
Come on.
This guy sounds insufferable.
Coastal elite.
This goes for any place, okay? I just happen to live in Los Angeles. If I lived in Sheboygan, I'd feel the same way. If you are a local to a place and you have people that move into your town from another place, I don't want to hear, like,
I hate it here, blah, blah, blah.
Then get out of here.
Go home. It would be like me going into someone's house and then being like, huh, it's cold in
I
here.
like my house better.
You guys got some shit in the fridge. You don't have any Kool-Aid? What the fuck kind of establishment you running here? It's just rude. It's rude. All I'm saying is I hope Jimmy dies.
It was Jimmy's idea to scope out the asylum. He said he was bored of the snow and wanted to do something exciting. That's when I told him about Milk White. What a crock of shit.
Hey, what a crock of shit.
It's a fucking baby story, and you're a baby for believing it. You don't actually think that's true, do you?
Did he say that baby story?
Yeah. You fucking little baby.
Oh, we got a little baby over here.
Hey, why don't I give you a little spanking on your little baby butt, huh?
I shook my head no.
I am not a baby.
I could see Hans looking at me, but I stared past him until he shook his head too.
Oh, he is slow. Am I a baby?
Don't say slow.
I'm just saying, if it takes you
He certainly
more than
was-
2 seconds to answer, am I a baby?
He certainly was slow to react to that question. Yes, if that's the context that you meant that in.
If I was in a job interview and I was conducting the interview and I said, hey, are you a baby? And he went, too long.
That is a slow response time.
It needs to
certainly.
be instant.
Yeah.
I am not a baby.
I'm not a baby.
Jimmy decided we would go to the asylum that night. He joked about Milk White, calling him a pathetic excuse for a ghost story. It was embarrassing hearing him mock the creature that haunted our childhoods, but we said nothing. We snuck out around midnight and met up at the overpass. I was bundled in about 7 layers of wool. Jimmy, like always, wore only his leather jacket.
We want this guy to die, right? I mean, just, okay. I bet you these kids want him to get the business, too.
I don't know that they want him to be murdered.
They don't want maybe not him to get murdered.
Yeah.
Maybe just roughed up a little bit. Yeah.
He led the way as we trudged through the snow towards the abandoned building. It must have been intimidating once, heck, it still was, but now it looked uncared for and decaying. As we walked, Hans grabbed my arm and pointed at the ground. There were a set of footprints in the snow leading toward the old hospital. They were large, larger than both of ours, and something about them looked odd. It took me a moment to realize why. The prints had toe marks. The person who had made them was barefoot. I debated showing them to Jimmy, but I knew he would just laugh at me. I shrugged Hans off. Come on. We caught up to Jimmy at the main entrance of the asylum just as fresh snow began to fall. Jimmy tried the door, but it was shut firmly. He kicked at it, but to no use.
I'll tell you what, having a great time with this story.
It's fun.
There's movement, there's action here. The setting is really nice. An old asylum, there's snow falling.
Little kids.
A lot of times in these stories, people are like, I noticed something weird, and then I continued to notice it, and then I died.
It's true. It kind of is.
This is a good season finale. If that's where this is landing, I'm having a great time.
I hope so.
They better stick the landing, though.
Hans was shivering. Looks like we can't get in. Jimmy laughed at him. You fucking pussy. We've barely tried yet.
Jimmy!
Jimmy,
Watch your mouth.
that's strike 1.
Yeah, watch your mouth.
It was
That
strike
was so
2,
good.
actually. You don't say that, okay?
Hans and I were good Midwestern boys who never swore. But Jimmy had a terrible mouth. He then moved around to a boarded-up window. It was low enough that he could use his hands to pry under the boards. With a violent jerk, he pulled the first plank away. Whatever glass used to be there was long broken. Jimmy made a loud grunting sound and fought another board loose. He pulled himself up to the window and ducked partway inside.
Are you pansies coming, or are you gonna stand there and French kiss?
What a little shit. He's gonna give the business to Milk White when he sees her. He's gonna be like, hey, you tall white bitch.
Hey, why don't you come over here? I'll give you the 1, 2, a little thunder and lightning.
Hey, Milk White, why don't you come suck on my balls?
Oh, you gonna kill me? I got a better idea. Why don't you kiss my ass, huh?
Hans and I looked at each other. If we went in, we'd be confronting the very thing we had feared since grade school. If we didn't, we'd have to French kiss.
I'm just kidding.
There you got it.
If we didn't, we'd lose our friendship with Jimmy and probably any shred of reputation. I hoisted myself through the window. I landed on a pile of broken boards and loose insulation. Other people must have tried to get in too over the years because there were planks everywhere. Hans flew through the window with a heavy thump. Instantly shrieking, he held up his hand. A jagged cut ran down the center of his palm. He must have cut it on a nail or broken glass from the window when he jumped through. It looked deep enough to leave a scar. Hans's eyes welled with tears as Jimmy rolled his. Jimmy turned his back on us and started towards the hall. The flashlights we'd remembered to bring with us weren't much help. The halls were pitch black. We stayed close to the walls, keeping a hand steady for balance. At one point, I heard a noise behind us and almost jumped out of my skin. Jimmy scoffed. Scared of mice now too, Twinkle Toes?
Twinkle Toes? He's getting better and better. Where does he come up with this stuff? He's an absolute lunatic.
Hey, are you turning on Jimmy now?
I love Jimmy. I hope he's the only one who makes it out of this alive.
Nah, I still hope he dies.
Yeah, I hope he beats the shit out of Milk White. Or takes out like a switchblade.
Oh, yeah, like a butterfly knife? Come on.
The entire time we explored the asylum, I barely breathed. It wasn't just the darkness. It was that every iteration of every story of Milk White was playing in my mind on a loop. We found broken wheelchairs and nightmarish metal cots. Our flashlights scanned the darkness, but thankfully, nothing moved. Once we'd been exploring for an hour or so, my heartbeat slowed. Of course, Jimmy was right. Milk White was just a story used to scare kids.
Hey, this sounds like every fucking place we've been to that's an asylum.
It does. Old, dilapidated, full of garbage and wheelchairs.
We had no Jimmy with us, though. I guess you would
God, can you imagine if we had a Jimmy on Ghost Files? Can we just start casting for that?
be cast even with.
It was Hans who found the door to the basement. He pointed at it with his flashlight. Jimmy tried the handle, but it was stuck. He tried kicking the door, but ended up just tripping backward. I stood by silently. Jimmy shone his light into Hans's face. You, big guy, kick it down.
Hey, you big sack of shit. Why don't you take that fucking size 18 shoe and kick this door down, huh? Why, you didn't get enough milk from your mama?
Jimmy's so funny.
I love Jimmy. Hans started trembling. Oh dear.
Whatever you say, Mr. Jimmy.
Kicks his foot, just goes a hole in the door, his foot's now stuck.
Hans started trembling and shook his head. Jimmy pushed him. Come on, you great dumb idiot. Be useful for fuck's sake. Hans looked down, embarrassed. I stepped towards them. Maybe we should go. Jimmy sneered. Or maybe you should go for... We all stopped immediately. Footsteps from behind the door. And they sounded like they were climbing the basement steps. I stared open-mouthed at Jimmy, who was frozen in place. The footsteps grew louder. Turn off your lights, Jimmy hissed.
I don't like it when Jimmy's scared.
I know.
That's no. This, I see what the story is doing now. They set up this kind of
Man of Steel,
annoying
Jimmy, our
badass.
hero.
And now he's scared, and now we're like, oh shit, Jimmy's scared.
Enough to
It's
scare
like if
Jimmy.
you get scared at a ghost hunt.
That's right. Then they would.
And then they'd find out you're just running away from a frog.
That's not what.
Waverly Hills.
That's not what happened.
Must be unsolved. I think it's the third season.
Mark ran away before I did.
No, Mark's behind camera.
That sounds.
You ran away. You ran away.
No. He dropped the camera. I caught it.
We all shut our flashlights off and huddled against the wall. Hans was shaking badly, but I was nearly paralyzed. I could hear Jimmy swearing under his breath. The footsteps kept climbing until they were almost upon us. Then, the doorknob creaked. It was completely dark, so we couldn't see a thing. All we could do was listen as the door swung open. That's when we heard the voice, carrying an eerie, disembodied melody. It sang, "Hush, now, sleep, tight." Feeling utter terror, I spun around, knocking into Jimmy in the darkness. He was in a ball next to me, rocking back and forth.
What? Oh man, what a turn.
Now who's the baby, Jimmy?
Yeah,
I don't like to see Jimmy being a baby.
I do. All that gas just for him to be reduced to a baby himself.
Yeah.
And it's something beautiful, folks.
Oh, that makes me sad. I don't like to
This
see.
just goes to show you bullies, they're just covering up their own sadness and fear.
So, yeah, that's true.
I could feel the fear emanating from him. His jaw was clenched, and his teeth were grinding. The voice sang, "Beware, beware of Milk White." I trembled, and my shaking thumb knocked the button on my flashlight. In a second, I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me because there it stood, barely 2 feet away, illuminated in the spotlight of my flashlight. It was tall, but stood bent and twisted, staring straight at us with bugging eyes. Stark and naked, its nails resembled claws, and its teeth protruded from its mouth, low and sharp. In its skin, it wasn't white. The nursery rhyme had been wrong. It was stained red. It took a step towards us and whispered, "Kill you dead with just one bite." And it was at that moment when I thought for sure my life was about to end. Then, Hans struck me hard over the head with his flashlight.
What? Hans, you were in on it, you little shit! Wait! Now I don't even feel bad for calling you so.
Hang on! This is the best.
Oh, damn!
This story has taken me for a ride, man.
Holy
'Cause what in the fuck is going on
He
here?
cut his own hand open as part of the bit.
Hans is working for Milk White?
Do you think he was getting paid?
I don't know. Does Milk White have a Chase account?
W9 and all that stuff?
I don't know.
Set up an LLC? I woke up on the floor of the asylum. My head was pounding and I could see sunlight outside. I struggled to stand, but my frostbitten fingers and toes made it difficult. I looked around and saw
you
Jimmy
son of a
laying on the
bitch.
ground nearby. He had a giant bruise on his forehead. I tried to wake him. He didn't move, but he was breathing.
Oh, thank God.
Did he have the jacket on still?
Oh, you know he did.
Oh, I really hope Milk White kills him and then takes the jacket and puts the jacket on. I still don't know how I did it, but I managed to stand and haul Jimmy back out the window. I wasn't strong enough to carry him, so I dragged him through the snow. He moaned quietly, but didn't wake up. I made it to a tavern by the highway. It was closed, but I pounded on the door until my knuckles bled, screaming for help. The owner finally came to see what the noise was and let us in. He was shaken by our appearance. It was undeniable. He called the police. I was soon wrapped in blankets and starting to feel the warmth return to my fingertips. Jimmy eventually woke up in the hospital with a mild concussion. I told the police our story, and they searched the entire asylum but didn't find anything. Jimmy had no memory of the night's events. Convenient.
What? I don't remember anything. It was dark.
Well, at least that's what he claims. The psychologist my parents made me see afterward told me I'd created the whole thing. She said Hans had done something terrible to Jimmy and me, and I had blocked it out. After all, Hans was older and much stronger than us. Why else would he have left town so suddenly? She said I'd called up the image of Milk White in place of Hans because it was one I'd known from childhood and was easier than the reality. I went to bed before dark every night until I went away for college. I haven't been back to Sheboygan since. My parents hound me every year to visit, but I refuse. They think it's because of what Hans did. But I know what I saw. And I know the reason Hans hit me was to knock me out cold. Because Milk White only gets you when you're awake. So, are you scared?
Okay. Well, in that case, it does sound like Hans was saving them. Milk White only gets you when you're awake.
Oh, so he wasn't
So
a
the big
milk minion.
moose
He was not a milk minion.
Sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
He didn't leave town. He was killed by Milk White.
He was ate. He got
He
ate.
got eaten.
Why would
And
he
then-
knock himself out then?
He didn't think to do it. He is not a smart man.
That's true. He's not as smart as a big Billu. He does know what love is, though.
Yeah. So, all in all, a really sweet story.
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Hans, a really sweet, gentle soul who sacrificed his life.
That's
It was
right.
Probably a good meal.
I'm sure if Milk White had to choose between which one to eat, he's probably like the big boy. And he got his wish.
What's Jimmy up
What
to?
was Jimmy's life like after that?
Yeah.
Had he been knocked down a peg? Had he stopped being such a dick? Or was he like leaning into it even further?
He probably is working at a Toyota dealership or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Working the boom boom room?
Or the boom boom room.
It was a great story. I have no notes.
This is a really nice story.
I
It
liked
had an ending.
Had a great ending.
Yeah.
Anyways, the story was originally posted on Reddit's No Sleep by user Easy Misery. And for those of you who made it, we'll see you next time.
Hey folks, if you want to watch
Watch the full season right now, ad-free, along with other bonus content.
Then head on over to WatcherTV.com to subscribe to the Watcher TV app and watch all of our content a month early.
Or just continue to tune in here for free on YouTube every Friday.
Greetings! Ghost Files Season 3 is just around the corner. So you know what that means? We're once again hitting the road for the Ghost Files live tour.
That's right, we're packing our bags and visiting 18 cities all throughout the U.S. and Canada.
Head on over to GhostFilesLive.com to check out dates and to get your tickets. You come watch a new episode of Ghost Files that nobody has seen. We'll come on out after, answer your guys' questions, goof around, maybe have too many spirits.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
We'll see you there. I'm going to kill him in the last show.
Why?
This video contains content that some might find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. College trips abroad can be both educating and liberating, exposing young adults to the myriad cultures of our one shared world. In a traditional way, however, sometimes this new freedom means braving discomfort or even
Getting my
danger.
ass
Tonight,
kicked.
our narrator describes her time abroad and why she'd never been so glad to return home. I'm Ryan Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? A show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it till the end of the night. The crawl space.
He's after us! The guy with the hook!
Tonight, we tell the harrowing tale of something you can't outrun. No, it's not this guy with a hook, but it's hunger. And you can truly beat that hunger with today's episode sponsor, Factor. For us guys on the go, Factor cuts down on grocery trips and cooking, so there's more time for our favorite outdoor activities. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Simply heat and savor the good stuff. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. So why don't you join me? Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code WATCHER50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code WATCHER50 at Factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Fuel up your nighttime goals with Factor. Now, back to the show.
I guess you could say I'm writing this as a cautionary tale to those who plan on studying abroad in Rome. I don't mean to discourage you from going in the first place. It's more like I just want you to be aware of this so that something like this doesn't happen to you too. Last summer, I was selected to participate in a study abroad program in Rome. I was elated. I'd never been out of the country before, so this was going to be a real adventure for me. In the months that preceded the trip, we were responsible for messaging our would-be roommates and finding a place to stay. I would be staying with 3 girls, Alicia, Stephanie, and Lindsay. They were all nice enough, and none of us really had much money. So, we decided to go with the cheapest apartment we could find. You ever study abroad?
No?
No?
Did you?
I did. Well, I
What?
guess I didn't really study abroad. I made a documentary in Singapore, which was like a version of studying abroad. It was called Cross-Cultural Documentary. You had to apply to get in, and then they selected a team of documentarians to get over, and then the school paid for it.
Did you go there?
I did.
Cool.
I was there for like a month.
In college?
In college, yes.
Cool. Is that when you pooped your pants?
I did poop my pants in this trip. I did,
Okay.
yeah. After a couple of days, we stumbled across an ad for an ancient apartment located above the Campo dei Fiori. This was a prime location, and we couldn't believe that it was still available. No less listed for a price that fit into our budget. This immediately sent alarm bells off in my head. Something seemed too good to be true. The rent was cheaper than smaller apartments in less desirable parts of town. Soon, however, my excitement about Italy dulled any hesitation I might have had, and we booked it. When I arrived in Italy and met my new roommates at the airport, I was sure I was about to have the 3 best months of my life. We got a taxi and zoomed to the Campo dei Fiori. The location was amazing. During the daytime, the Campo hosted a vibrant market, while in the evenings, it was lined with lively street performers. All of the apartments surrounding it, including ours, looked to be legit ancient.
This sounds so fun and sexy.
Except for the street performers, sometimes they could be a bit much.
Well, sometimes they can be really sexy. You know?
No, I don't know. What do you mean by that?
I think in Europe they have some really sexy street performers. I think I've just built it up in my mind for so long because I never did go abroad during my youth, which was so long ago now.
This apartment, the too good to be true nature of it. This often happens when you see like a house where people have been brutally murdered inside of it.
Yeah.
And then there's a sale. You've been on the record for saying that would not matter.
Who cares? Yeah. People die everywhere. I bet someone has died here in the void.
What if you found out a bunch of people were skinned alive there and were used as like suits, like meat suits?
Okay, I mean, you're getting into territory where, yes, I might be hesitant.
Yeah, and you find out somebody got tortured there.
Well, it's just because you're, like, thinking about it.
Had their pee-pee ripped off and turned into a flute.
Right. Yes, if that happens, certainly I'm going to be falling asleep at night. Flute music I hear?
The scariest time to ever hear a flute.
Yeah.
As soon as we opened the front door, there was a stampede of young women trying to claim the best rooms. Being a 3-bedroom apartment, it meant that 2 of us would have to share. I personally didn't really care, so I let the others battle it out. I ended up sharing a room with Stephanie. That was fine. Stephanie was the nicest girl and very quiet. Ideal qualities in a roommate. Apart from the bedrooms, we would be sharing 2 bathrooms, a full kitchen, and a living room, with a TV so old, Alicia thought it was just for decoration. While the other 3 laughed about how great the apartment was, I again started to feel uneasy. How were we able to afford all of this? Before I could finish my thought, I was interrupted by a fit of loud squealing. At the far end of the apartment, near the front door, there was another part of the flat we had missed entirely when we first entered. A dark hallway. I couldn't see what was at the end, as Lindsay and Stephanie were blocking my view, shrieking. Just love all the passive-aggressive, like, calm down, it's not that nice, think critically, kind of thing.
What, are they freaking at the hallway or at the...
They're shrieking at, like, oh my god, we got 2 bathrooms, look at this TV, it's so fucking old.
It's exciting. I shriek.
You don't shriek, you're not a shriek.
I'm a squealer.
I've never seen you have an excitement decibel level above maybe 4.
No, I get excited all the time. I'm a squealer, I'm a shrieker.
Use a screamer.
Yep, that's me.
Finally, they turned and I saw what had set them off. A washer and dryer. Somehow, we had found a cheap apartment with in-unit laundry. Now that is pretty
I'd be
good.
squealing in
I would
LA
be squealing about that. You find that in LA, you keep that shit a secret because the landlord did that by
It's
accident.
got to be true in other cities as well at this point. It's
In-unit
such a
laundry?
fine- Yeah.
Then things got even better. Adjacent to the washing machine behind a nondescript door was a 3rd bathroom. Unlike the others, which were small and harshly lit, this one was massive, with a clawfoot tub, a bidet, and even a private balcony. We immediately started fighting over whose bathroom this would be. Stephanie made the logical argument that because she and I had to share a bedroom, it was only fair that we got to share this primary bath. At first, I loved our sprawling bathroom. Over the course of that first week, however, I grew more and more wary of the room. It's like every time I went into that room, I felt I didn't have any privacy, like someone could see me. I stood on the balcony and looked across the Campo, seeing if anyone had a view straight into the room. But it seemed private enough. Still, I feel like I was never quite alone, and that whatever was watching me was angry. That it didn't want me there. That it wanted to hurt me. I asked Alicia if she wanted to swap bathrooms, and she quickly agreed. For the next 2 months, I didn't enter the big bathroom again, and I had an incredible time. It wasn't until our final month that everything began to unravel. One night, as I prepared to brush my teeth, I could hear Stephanie and Alicia getting ready for bed in the primary bath. I'd been having a great time in Italy, but I hadn't really gotten as close to my roommates as it seemed they had gotten to each other. I decided to put myself out there and try to do some bonding. Besides, with three of us in there, what bad thing could happen in the bathroom?
Just hanging out in the bathroom a lot?
I guess. I don't know. I didn't really spend much time in the bathroom with my roommates, but if you're sharing a bathroom...
If there's three of them, one could take a bath, one could use the toilet, and the other one could use the bidet.
Well, that's only if there's an enclosure. I like a bathroom where the toilet is enclosed, and then inside that bathroom there's still a shower. That way you can, like, do your business in there while, like, say, like, my wife showers or something.
I don't like that, because I don't like when you're in a little tiny toilet room.
I don't mind that.
I don't like being alone in my little tiny toilet room.
It lets me know that I'm in there to do business.
Ideally, I would love a bathroom so big that with just a toilet in the middle of it.
It's horrible design.
Well, it's for me.
I made my way to the large bathroom where I joined the boisterous girls in brushing my teeth. They filled me in on what they were talking about. Some Italian boy had tried to hit on Stephanie earlier, and Alicia broke into such a furious fit of laughter that she had to lean on the wall for support.
The wall's gonna cave in.
No, I
it's
do
gonna
not
be
think.
full of bones.
No, I don't think so.
You gotta imagine all the walls in Rome are full of bones, right?
I don't think that's what's gonna happen. I think this is just part of the story.
I think we're gonna find some bones.
Suddenly, she jolted upright, as if she'd been shot. Oh my god, I think we might be finding some bones.
This is a quick turnaround from you.
You might have been right. I just
You
thought
were
it was...
so vehement.
I thought
No
it was
bones
just...
here.
I just
And
thought it was
then
a quick
wait,
detail.
I think there might be
Well, I
bones.
just think that was weird. Like, oh, I've leaned on the wall before because I'm laughing, but I'm not leaning with such a
What if
force.
the fucking wall's made of polished bone? What if she's like, wait a minute, wall is bones?
Wall is bones.
Apparently, snakes in the wall are very common in the UK.
Yeah, you've said this before.
I read that.
I don't know where you're getting your news from. Too much TikTok news.
Suddenly, she jolted upright as if she had been shocked. We all looked at what had been the cause of her reaction. There on the wall, about the same level as the bathtub, was a tiny door. The landlord had painted over it. Alicia reached for the handle and began tugging with all her might. Wait, these dummies didn't realize there was a handle on the fucking wall this entire time? I know there's paint on it,
They've
but
been in there for 2 months.
I'm not saying these
What
three
are you
folks
doing?
are dummies, but I'm gonna say that if you and I were sharing a bathroom for a day, we would notice, hey, you notice the tiny door that was on the fucking
We
wall?
wouldn't see any of Rome. Because we'd get there, I'd be like, Ryan!
And I'd
Look
be
at
like,
this
what?
tiny door!
No fucking way. A tiny door in the bathroom?
We'd be like, we gotta get into this tiny door. Outside, there'd be Tarantella music playing, all that. We'd be like, who cares?
Shane would pry it open. I'd crawl through for obvious reasons.
I didn't want to go there, but that's true.
Stephanie clucked her tongue in disapproval before pulling a small pocket knife from her toiletry bag. She began carving along the seam of the door. Within a few minutes, Alicia had yanked the little door open with a loud crack. Inside was a large crawl space. You could have fit at least 3
Damn,
or
these
4
niggas
people
really
in
burning
there.
my shit down.
I was
huh?
curious why the landlord sealed up such a spacious storage nook. Immediately, we started using it as storage for towels and laundry baskets. Would you be alarmed by this? I would be alarmed by this.
I don't know that I would, because I would just assume that it was an old crawl space and probably not be super concerned about it.
But you have to remember the background. This is a suspicious deal to begin with. In
True.
the heart of the city, there's no reason it should be this cheap, and now there's a creepy little crawl space, and your first thought is towel time? I'm not saying they deserve to die, but it feels like we're getting there.
It seems to be the theme of this season, us choosing who deserves to die.
Well, you just don't be stupid.
Always looking for tiny doors.
And if you do find them, let somebody know. Don't keep it a secret. Even though our apartment was old, everything had been working fine until we unsealed that crawl space. Suddenly, the hot water in the other 2 bathrooms stopped working. I kept using the bathroom with cold water, unwilling to go back to the huge bathroom until the cold water stopped working too. Meanwhile, everything in the big bathroom still worked. With the exception of that bathroom, it felt like the apartment was almost sabotaging itself. I was back in the large bathroom. All the while, the feeling that I was being watched grew worse and worse. I seemed to be the only one feeling this way, so I kept it to myself and hoped it would eventually go away. One night, I was alone in the bathroom. As I stood in front of the mirror brushing my teeth, something set the hairs on the back of my neck straight up. There was a faint rustling noise, the sound of someone gingerly shuffling things around inside the crawl space. I stood completely silent, terror filling me. I turned and ran down the hallway to grab the attention of my roommates. Eventually, I managed to stutter. Something's inside the crawl space.
This feels like an easy solve to me. If you're a person traveling alone in Rome, you're with your friends, but you're probably carrying pepper spray.
Yeah, pepper
Just
spray.
get over that door, open it up, give it a little douse. Yeah, just really get it all up in there, because that's gonna really stink.
Why don't you call a plumber?
That's good too, but he's probably Italian. Do you know Italian? What would you say?
No
That's
water.
what
I'd walk over to the fucking sink and be like, hey, look, buddy, no water. I know you can do this. I played Super Mario.
Oh, you're right.
The most famous plumber there is.
Yeah.
I'd show him a picture of Mario.
Show him a
And
picture.
then I'd show him a picture of my sink.
You.
No
This.
water. Drippy, drippy, no.
Yeah.
My roommates looked at me confused. It's probably a pigeon. As a pack, we moved down the hallway to the bathroom. When we looked in, I nearly fainted. The tiny door to the crawl space was now open. Alicia peeked her head out the balcony door and pointed to the slanted rooftop adjacent to ours. Sure enough, there were a few pigeons' nests tucked into the roof tiles. Stephanie surmised that a pigeon must have found another way into the crawl space and had just hopped out. Still, something bugged me. I knew that when I heard the rustling, the door was closed. No one is going to tell me that a pigeon knows how to and is capable of opening a door. When I got back to my room, I texted what had happened to my best friend back home. Initially, she thought I was being paranoid, though she also agreed with me that a pigeon probably wasn't responsible. She asked to see the crawl space, so I grabbed my phone and made my way back down the hallway. When I arrived, to my relief, the little door to the crawl space was still closed. I stood in front of it for a moment, gathering my nerve before finally pulling the little door open. It was empty. I snapped a quick photo before closing the door once more and running back to my room. I sent it to my friend, who said it certainly looked creepy, but it was probably nothing. I went to bed, but had some strange nightmares, the kind when you feel like you're half awake the whole time and you wake up feeling terrible. When the sun finally rose, I rolled over and grabbed my phone. I had 20 unread texts and 2 missed calls from my friend. I opened the phone, and the first text was, "Looked at that photo again. What did you Photoshop into the corner?" I opened the picture and zoomed in and was immediately petrified. In the upper right-hand corner, looking out at me, was a face, baring its teeth. My whole body began violently shaking. Someone had sealed whatever it was inside of that crawl space, and we had let it out. Knowing these people, they probably just closed that door to the bathroom and then just went to the other bathroom. It was like, all right, we'll forget about that bathroom for now. We're not going to let anybody know about this.
I mean, you can also reseal it or just put a big pot in front of it or some vase.
Or this is the pepper spray.
The pepper spray.
Yeah, or just spray a hose in there.
Or put some poison in there.
Yeah.
Put a cake in there, but put some poison on it.
I tiptoed to the bathroom and peered around the corner. The door to the crawl space was closed. Slowly, I approached it, listening for whatever was inside. I heard nothing. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door and saw nothing inside. I looked back at the photo. It's possible it was just a trick of the flash on my phone. Nothing was inside now. I texted my friend that it was just an optical illusion and got ready for my day. That night, I had more nightmares. That is, until around 2 o'clock in the morning, when the sound woke me. It sounded like a door
That was
pushed
almost
open
too
at the
close.
other end of the
Almost
flat,
too close for
followed by
comfort.
Footsteps, but not normal footsteps. They were far too fast, like someone was running at full speed from the foyer to the living room and all about the apartment. And these weren't heavy footfalls like you would expect from a person running. They were very, very light. A shiver went down my spine, and I nearly screamed when I realized that the footsteps had come to a stop outside of my door. Despite all the lights being out, I could clearly see a looming shadow through the tiny crack at the foot of my door. Little tiny guy running around the apartment.
He's human.
No, it could be like a little rat man.
Rat man would be good.
I like a little rat man. The lesser known cousin of Batman. You would like to be a rat man if you could.
I don't think I'd like to be, like, the product of a human mating with a rat. Because I think that would be bad biologically for me. That would be great. But maybe if I was like you put me in a pot, like in The Fly, if my DNA were suddenly fused with a rat.
Yeah, like Goldblum style.
And I turned into like a brundle rat or something. Yeah. I'd be into that. I'd be into becoming.
You know what? I think I might play
dare
some
not.
Marvel
It
Rivals.
was just standing there.
Marvel
Waiting.
Rivals.
Then, to my horror, my doorknob slowly began to jiggle. Gently at first, but then growing violent at the realization of it being locked. The noise of it eventually woke Stephanie. She sat up, blinking in confusion. That instant, the jiggling of the doorknob stopped. I whispered across to her that whatever had opened the door to the crawl space the previous day had come back. But she just rolled over and said that I needed to get more sleep. That's you. This is you to me. This is why we would die. Because of you.
Well, don't say that.
You'd be like, it's an optical illusion, whatever, go to sleep, it's fine. And then we go to sleep forever.
This has happened in my life. We'll hear weird noises or something, or Obi will do something crazy at night, and Sarah will be like, "What was that?" And I'll be like, "Nah, go to bed."
You know what I do when I hear weird noise in my house?
You grab your samurai sword,
My
your
katana.
katana.
It's katana time.
Yeah.
The next day, I made an appointment with my program supervisor and told him I needed to go home, preferably that night. He tried to tell me that I was just homesick and that it would pass, but I insisted. Eventually, we called my parents. They were confused, but understanding. They changed the date of my return flight to the following morning. Unfortunately, this meant staying one more night in the apartment. When I returned, I tried to tell the others about what I thought was going on, but none of them took me seriously. They didn't say anything, but I was sure they all thought I was going home because of some sort of mental breakdown. That night, I locked my door and hesitantly went to bed. I couldn't fall asleep. Once again, around 2 o'clock, rapid footsteps scampered around the apartment. And once again, they came to a pause outside my door. I could hear breathing this time, slow and light. I sat up in a panic, and to my horror, I saw that Stephanie had forgotten to lock the door behind her after getting up to use the bathroom. Stephanie! One rule, lock the door.
These other women deserve to die.
I think all three of them do, but more so Stephanie and the gang, not the narrator as much. I hope she survives.
If we're being honest, that's true of most of the protagonists of all of these stories we read here on this show. They're all pretty dumb.
I could think of a couple that didn't deserve to die. They tried to do the right thing.
Who? Name one.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are some. The handle slowly began to turn. I froze in terror as the door swung open. It stood in the doorway, staring me down. His eyes protruded slightly from its skull and gave off a very faint bluish light. It didn't appear to have a nose, only slits where the nostril should have been. It had teeth, but no lips, giving it a permanent snarl. Its grayish-white skin was stretched tight over its bony face. The rest of its skeletal form was hard to make out as it was entirely enveloped in shadows. Yeah, I mean, this is a freaky-looking thing.
Sounds more like Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, kind of.
Really scary guy.
To me, it sounds more like Voldemort fucked like Schmeagol.
That's, I think, what happens, and then you get a Baraka. Voldemort, Smeagol, do the deed.
Barack Obama should dress up as Baraka for Halloween. Then he could be Baraka Obama.
Baraka Obama.
That would be sick. Free idea, Mr. President. If you're
Someone
watching
has
the show.
truly photoshopped Baraka Obama. I gotta
They
see that.
have to have done it.
Gotta
We should
see
do that. I have to say, too, normally we're like, show the monster.
I actually want to see if someone's photoshopped Baraka
let's take a
Obama.
look. It's worth a look. It's worth a look.
What?
Baraka Obama, that's hilarious.
Baraka Obama.
I'm disappointed in the internet if this has not been done.
Oh,
Yeah?
this actually isn't half bad.
Gotta see it. You piece of shit! Unbelievable! I can't believe I fell for it again.
It's been a while.
Not long enough. Wow. Well done, you piece of shit. Unbelievable.
I've been waiting.
After pausing in the doorway, it began to head toward me. As it moved, its body let out sickening cracks. I I sat there, still petrified by fear, until it had made its way to the foot of my bed. The air had begun to smell sour and stagnant. It sprang onto the foot of the bed. I wanted to scream, but instead I gagged at the smell, like sulfur and rotting flesh.
Like how big this guy is.
I'm thinking he's like, yay high?
He's well,
Probably this big.
because that's not as scary, but
Yeah, because then I would just kick him off my bed.
yeah.
And he'd be like,
Let's sit on him. That's sit on him.
or I'd just pick him up and he'd be like, his little tiny knives, like trying to get at me, and I'd just be holding him like this and I'd throw him out the window.
Spin him around.
Slowly, it unfurled one of its gnarled hands and proceeded to reach for me. It was only inches away when I finally screamed. It halted in its tracks, and Stephanie shot up in her bed. The creature hunched over on all fours and fled from the room with spider-like movement. Stephanie switched the light on and looked at me, furious. She hadn't seen it. She thought I just had a nightmare. I apologized, and Stephanie turned the lights back off. I bolted the door and didn't even try to go back to sleep.
Why are you going back to sleep?
Well, maybe she was convinced she had
Why
sleep.
don't I just close the door?
Well, I mean, sleep paralysis, you can see some crazy little creatures.
And that's what I've been told, and it seems like people do buy into that quite a bit.
Well, I'm thinking you're Stephanie in this scenario, and I'm this narrator. Like, I just saw a Spider-Man crawl out of this room. Imagine me saying that to you in one of these haunted locations.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it.
No, you wouldn't. And we died because of it. The taxi came to pick me up very early. As the driver closed the trunk on my luggage, I leaned to look out the window. I could see where my room had been. There, looking out of my old window, was the thing. Bye-bye! Oh, shucks. I guess I'll just have to kill all your friends instead. Ciao! I wish I could have had the pleasure.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
What's he doing up there?
He's just saying goodbye, looking at the one that got away.
But I guess now he's gonna eat the other.
Yeah, he's gonna
gals?
eat the other ones, but he's gonna be laying in his bed, looking at a photo of her like that Wolverine meme, just wondering what she would have tasted like.
Yeah.
Its unblinking eyes bore into me, and its lipless mouth curled into a snarling grin. Before I could say anything, the cab driver took off, leaving that hell house far behind. I did everything in my power to try to warn them of the danger that they were in, but none of them listened to me. There was no way I could have stopped what happened after. You see, a couple weeks after returning to the United States, I received a phone call from the program director. He informed me that all 3 of my past roommates had been reported missing.
They got eaten. Yeah, they were just informing you that all your old friends were eaten.
Yeah.
We found their bones.
The authorities had no idea just how long they had actually been gone for, as they were only recently discovered to be missing when the program director went to check on them after they failed to come to the program wrap-up. There was no sign of forced entry, and no valuables were missing. Just my roommates. Kind of a sick burn there. No valuables missing, just my roommates.
Yeah, nothing of value was lost.
That's right, just 3 dummies. I may not be able to go back in time and save them, but maybe I can prevent this from happening to you. Please, please heed my warning. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. You might not be as lucky as me. So, are you scared? Good story.
It's a good lesson.
It's a good story.
You got to be
Liked
careful when you even Airbnbs. A lot of times they do have these little guys at them.
It had everything. It had a little tiny monster,
Yeah,
a little tiny door,
little tiny door.
3 idiots.
And we actually never confirmed the size of the monster, but I do hope he's little.
I hope he's like knee height.
Yeah, like a little leprechaun.
Like a leprechaun, yeah. Maybe it was a leprechaun.
Could have been.
It wasn't an
On
island.
vacation.
On vacation. Well, I love Italy so much. Maybe I'll just stay here.
He's got little sunglasses on.
And then every time,
Certainly wearing some sunblock.
and every
Like
time
that.
people come into his apartment, he has to get rid of them. He tries to scare them away, but then when they don't, he has to kill them.
So this was a leprechaun.
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, this story was originally posted on creepypasta.com and was modified to fit this show.
And this was actually a true story.
Wow.
Yeah. All her
Don't
friends,
check that. It's a true
all
story.
her friends died.
For those of you who made it. See you next time.
Hey folks, if you want to watch the full season right now, ad-free
free along with other bonus content. Then head on over to WatcherTV.com to subscribe to the Watcher TV app and watch all of our content a month early. Or just continue to tune in here for free on YouTube every Friday.
This video contains content that some might find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. How do you confront the reality of a missing child? Or even worse, multiple? In a small, sleepy town where everyone knows everyone, that wound can cut even deeper. Who would do such a thing? And do you already know them? I'm Ryan Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? A show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it until the end of the night. The Missing. I'm no weather woman, but for my money, Washington has to be the rainiest state in America. And Killdeer, population just shy of 10,000 at last count, has to be the rainiest town in Washington. But I've never lived anywhere else and never wanted to. As I like to say, rain and Killdeer go together like pie and coffee.
Yeah, I've been up there. I'll tell you, it's a pretty rainy place. It rained when I was there.
So confirmed.
And,
From the rain that one time Shane was there.
Oh, Chicago, we've got thunderstorms, but certainly not the rainiest because you get a lot of beautiful sunny days, too. And snow. A rich palette in the Midwest.
Did I know why, but all of that gesticulation with the smugness of it, I kind of wanted to choke you.
I'd love to see you try.
What, you think you're a big tough guy because you're dressed like a hipster Riddler? Killdeer was 25 days into its latest bout of rain when I sat down at my usual table at the Mug and Slice. The waitress, a 19-year-old sweetheart named Jackie, brought me my usual: a cup of coffee and a slice of cherry pie. Hey, Gert, rain's been funny, she offered, starting up a conversation. Think this is funny? I countered. You should have seen 98. With the winds, felt like the rain was coming in sideways. Had to hold my umbrella like a rifle. Ding. A boy no older than 12 shuffled dejectedly into the store with a stack of flyers. Jackie went to help him hang one in the window. Dog missing, $50 reward. And told the boy she was sure the pup would turn up. Jackie always knew what to say to kids.
Do you find it romantic, the thought of being a server in a small town diner? Oh boy, I'd love it.
I think that'd be kind of fun.
That'd
You'd
be
probably
fun.
meet some characters like, hey, Bert, how's it going? How's the divorce?
Oh, well, it's sadder than I imagined.
Yeah.
Heard about the horse you had to take out back.
Sorry about your grandma. Sucks to hear over your grandma.
Whoa.
Small town, you see everything. Second dog after missing in the last 2 days, Jackie said, returning with a fresh pour of coffee. Must have ran off together, I joked, like those two librarians in the 80s, Maxine and, what was her name? Ding. Another interruption. This time by one of the only folks in Killdeer as full of stories as me. Gus Tompkins, mailman, and at 71 years young, a full 3 years younger than me. Gus, just the man I knew. Who was the librarian who ran off with the other librarian? Gus usually sported that easygoing demeanor that's needed for a lifelong career in the post office. Today, however, he seemed distracted. Caroline? Maybe Carol? Sorry, mine's... Gus's eyes scanned the restaurant, nervously clocking me and the other 2 customers. I noticed Gus drag his feet a bit as he made his way over to Jackie and I.
If I see a postman who seems ill at ease, that worries me.
Why is that?
Because they see everything around town. You know, especially a small town, he's got his finger on the pulse. So if he feels like something's wrong, then I'm very concerned indeed.
You don't think it could be because it's shitty to work at the post office?
I think it'd be wonderful. People bring you cookies.
Why is your mouth curling into a Joker
Because
smile?
I'm thinking of how wonderful it would be to work at the post office.
I heard that you talked to Doug or Sarah Heineman last few days. We shook our heads. The girl's missing. Haven't seen her since putting her to bed 2 nights back. Got me shook up. Talked to Walter at the station. I got nothing to go on. My mind felt quiet while I watched Gus's eyes aimlessly wander around the diner as if they might find a clue. Killdeer was small, innocent. Children were always safe here. There hadn't been a missing child report since, well, ever. I glanced outside at the gray and empty street as the rain got a little louder. Rest of that day, everyone was worried about 6-year-old Ariel. Word was, Sarah put Ariel to bed around 8, and when Doug went to check on her at 9:30, she was gone. No sign of a struggle, no forced entrance. No one knew what to make of it. Could she have wandered off? Did she sneak over to a friend's house? Could someone have taken her? It didn't make any sense, but then nothing did. Search parties were organized, and even though the rain was still coming down, most of the town volunteered to help look. Across Killdeer, all anyone could talk about was Ariel Heineman, at least until they started talking about Jordan Winding. Most folks in Killdeer first learned his name from the whispers cutting through the search parties. Hear about the other kid? 2 kids gone in one night. Sounds like we should be on the lookout for a whole children's tea party.
Love to make the jokes about the missing children.
While I'm in the middle of the search party.
Yeah. Oh, that was one of your children?
Hey, lighten up. Lighten up, can't take a joke. Ariel and Jordan, by all accounts, had never even met, and even went to different schools. The only thing the children had in common was they were both 6 years old, and they both had disappeared into the rainy night. The next few days, Killdeer was swimming with folks in from around the state offering to help us march through the woods, calling out their names, hoping beyond hope that we'd find them turned around in the brush, lost, but all right. They had to be all right. Even me, no spring chicken, bundled up and walked the woods behind my house, looking for tiny footprints in the thick mud. I felt the icy, damp air press into my bones as I trudged out aimlessly. I was lost in my head, thinking about the terror that must have been gripping the parents. Type of horror that consumes you. You forget to eat. You forget to sleep. Eventually, with no hope of relief, well, you stop feeling like a person. You're just a vessel for unending fear.
This is a Pennywise situation.
It's possible.
Did Pennywise ever eat a dog?
No, but he did.
He would have.
Puff people away.
Yeah, he did, yeah. He'd eat a dog.
Very funny that Pennywise ate popcorn. You ever think about that?
He did eat popcorn.
He did.
No, he was simply enticing the child with the
Which
smell of
means he's eaten popcorn before.
popcorn. Oh, maybe.
Why would he bring that up?
Are you duty? You wanna cheesy gordita crunch?
I'm just saying. It makes him less scary if you imagine him just sitting on the couch eating popcorn.
I don't think food tastes good to him, though, because he wants to eat children.
The rain clouds hadn't shown any signs of letting up, and that night it got darker earlier than I expected. I got turned around, then fully lost. I couldn't have gotten very far, yet nothing looked familiar. The old growth trees pressed in around me. In the rain, I took out my phone to try and pull up a map, fumbling to get my wet gloves off to work the damned thing. I was shocked by how cold I'd gotten. Finally, my location pinpointed on screen. I was a full mile away from my home, and I was soaked to the bone. Then, through the trees, I saw something move. Ariel? Jordan? The crack of a branch. Then a slow, plodding squash. Was someone pushing something through the mud? I called out again. Hello? Do you need help? Are you looking for... Suddenly the woods lit up as a bolt of lightning cracked down from the inky clouds, striking 50 yards from me, mere feet from where I'd seen the movement.
No! My dad was struck by lightning.
Your dad was struck by lightning?
Yeah.
What did I pay God for then?
Yeah, nice try.
I Venmoed him $20 and he got the wrong bidet.
It knocked him out, and then he woke up.
And then he gave birth to you eventually in a year?
No, I was born.
Oh, you
I
were-
wasn't a powder baby.
I was about to say it would explain a lot.
No, I wasn't a powder baby. You can hold up something metal to me, it will not attach to me.
I sloshed through the mud quick as I could, but when I got to where the lightning had hit, there was nothing. No shattered tree, no scorch marks, and no footprints. I called out again frantically. Hello? Did anyone else see that? The only reply was the tap, tap, tap of the strengthening rain. With nothing else to go on and no urge to tempt the darkness further, I made my way home and hoped I hadn't caught my death out there. 3 rainy days after Jordan and Ariel vanished, 2 more sets of parents were calling the police in a panic. Andrew Carlin, finishing his super senior year at Killdeer High, disappeared during his shift at the Rivoli Theater. The manager said he never saw him come back down the only set of stairs to the projection room. Along with Andrew, a girl in her late teens was missing, Jackie Regan, my favorite waitress at the Mug and Slice.
Oh, not Jackie!
Jackie!
That sucks.
Oh no! This is the first time one of these stories has ever affected me emotionally.
He's going pilot now.
Yeah.
And she's missing, but he's got...
Because we got to know her at the beginning. She had a folksy conversation with him.
Now it's just going to be coffee.
Jackie!
Her car was found, empty and idling, at a stop sign 3 blocks from her house. In both cases, their phones, their wallets, and all their possessions were accounted for. Only their bodies were gone. That next morning, the Mug and Slice was full of out-of-towners, newsreaders, journalists, even a few folks who somehow all made a living investigating unsolved crimes.
Nasty. Was this written for us? Hey, we do what we do, and we do it well.
And you know when something kind of like ekes its way into other stories and other media, just means you've left an imprint in society.
Yes, if this happened, we would be there. When something goes bump in the night,
Oh yeah.
we always will be there. When little Jackie goes missing from the local Mug and Slice, the Ghoul Boys will be there.
Indeed we will.
Oh, I thought you were jumping off with a third one.
Oh, I thought you looked like you were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt you.
When a super senior goes missing from a movie theater, but not his wallet, then I guess we'll also be there for that. Meal prepping. It's a lot of work, right? You go online, you try to find healthy recipes, even though you want like macaroni and cheese. You search the store for the right ingredients. You accidentally buy scallions when you're supposed to buy shallots. Then you gotta drive all the way home just to start preparing? Making a home-cooked meal every day on your own sometimes feels impossible. Well, HelloFresh provides 50 weekly recipes with a wide range of cuisines, flavors, ingredients, and they send them straight to your door. There's no thinking, no grocery lines, just delicious, delicious food. And HelloFresh also saves you money. It's 30% cheaper than shopping in store, and it cuts back on your food waste by 25%. That's a win-win. Honestly, I tend to recycle the same 3 meals over and over again. But HelloFresh has really encouraged me to broaden my very narrow horizons when it comes to my food choices. If you're interested in saving time, money, and your sanity, go to HelloFresh.com/AreYouScared and use promo code AreYouScared16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Ooh. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/AreYouScared, promo code AreYouScared16 to start using America's #1 meal kit today. Hey folks, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, here at Watcher, we believe that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. But even though it's pretty easy to find a doctor, finding a good therapist, well, that's a little bit harder. BetterHelp makes the process painless by giving its users access to licensed therapists fast. After taking a simple assessment quiz, BetterHelp matches you with a professional in under 48 hours. From there, you'll be able to schedule appointments with your new therapist and communicate with them by text, phone, or even a video session if that's more your speed. And better yet, it's not limited to the States. For all our international friends out there, this service is for you too. BetterHelp's mission is to lead everyone to a happier, healthy life today. So, join 2 million others who have already taken the first step towards leading a more balanced life. Head to
Bro, this is already bad.
www.betterhelp.com/AreYouScared to get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. That's www.betterhelp.com/AreYouScared. Now, back to the episode.
Everyone wanted to talk to locals, on the hunt for suspicions and theories. I just stared into my coffee cup, somehow expecting Jackie to suddenly appear with a fresh pot and explain away this madness. Whole town's gone bananas, Gus sighed. slumping into the chair across from me. All these strangers shoving recorders in my face, asking who I think's done it, in this rain. Gotta drive all the way over to Hank's Cutoff to get to the lowlands. Route 23's flooded.
Hey, Gus is still here.
Yeah, he's still out there gussing it up.
I like the idea that multiple people have vanished from the face of the earth. And he's just like, well, Dad's gone bananas.
What's all the fuss about? Where's my pie?
So 2 kids have vanished. Big whoop.
I can't get a stack of flapjacks because the kids go missing?
Is this suspicious? It seems suspicious.
Oh, we should start taking suspects.
Gus is my number. I mean, I don't know anyone else in town, so it's gotta be Gus.
What if it's the narrator? Don't think too long.
I think I'd still have to go with Gus.
I'm gonna go with the narrator. We'll see who's right. I whispered, "What is going on? Jackie wouldn't harm a soul. She's the best of us. And those kids? Gus, who could have done this?" I heard my voice begin to shake and tried to tighten my grip. You know, Jackie said she had an ex who was a creep, but Gus shook his head as he leaned forward. I know just about everyone in this town. I see their homes, I see their mail. If someone's doing this, they ain't from Killdeer. The way everyone's disappeared, no clues, no signs of struggle. It's almost... Gus picked up his mailbag and whispered to me. I'm not convinced they're human at all.
Gus.
What are you getting at, Gus?
I think he's suggesting there's some sort of monster or alien. Oh, or something from another dimension.
Like lightning people or something?
Lightning people.
Yeah.
Yep, you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be sick as hell.
They look like lightning bolts.
Yeah. Be like, what the hell? And then it walks up to you and gives you a hug, and then you disappear.
I raised a skeptical eyebrow as Gus plodded out the door. We'd had supposed Bigfoot sightings any town within 100 miles from the forest had, but I hadn't figured Gus to be a passenger on that crazy train. Was he trying to distract me from my sadness? Didn't work. There was a logical explanation to these disappearances. There had to be. But then again, it did seem like only a monster would take 4 children. Or rather, only a monster would take 4 children and 2 adults. 2 days after the teens disappeared, Marcus Gruber failed
I'm not doing too good.
Hardware.
Not a good first game for me.
The Timber Inn,
Better than that Punisher.
was furious when his housekeeper Bella Huang.
Son of a bitch.
The day after that, Kevin Lucci went out to his orchard and never returned. And when Marilyn Green's husband got home from work, he found a pot of water boiling, but no Marilyn.
Where are these people going? There's so many people.
A lot of people.
Is it gonna end with the narrator being the only person left in town?
Oh, like maybe they got Thanos snapped.
Could be. A slow snap?
Yeah, like a snap that's like Final Destination, like sequential.
Just sort of points at someone and is like, just you.
Just picturing Thanos going, gone. Out of there.
Practicing for the big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they haven't described Gus. He could be a big purple guy.
He could, you're right, Gus could beat Thanos. With 8 people now gone, Killdeer descended into panic. Except for their families, everyone stopped searching for the missing. Priorities shifted from helping your neighbors to protecting yourself. Overnight, gun sales quadrupled. Folks stopped saying hi and started whispering. Rumors about who could be behind this sprinted around town. Meanwhile, more and more strangers started arriving in town, each with a new wild idea about what was going on. I stopped going out, even to the Mug and Slice. Even to the Mug and Slice?
Even to the Mug and Slice.
This must be serious.
Nothing's gonna stop me from going out for a slice and a little cup of coffee, I'll tell you that.
Ooh, it does.
That does sound good. Why don't we eat pie when we record these episodes,
That'd be
huh?
great.
Why don't you let us do that?
It's not me. It's that nasty Stephen Lin.
It is that nasty Stephen Red.
Penny pincher.
He won't let us eat food on our shows.
It's true.
Says it's not our brand.
My days were spent peering out my blinds. The only person I saw out anymore was Gus, going house to house, delivering the mail under the thickening downpour. Spending my days alone gave me plenty of time to think about the missing. The pattern was obvious, always in pairs, 1 male and 1 female, and the victims were getting older with each disappearance. I checked my doors and windows at night and started keeping a broken mop handle nearby just in case. Still, what kept me up at night wasn't fear about myself. Who would want to do anything to me? No, My sleepless nights were filled with worry about those who were already gone. Until...
Okay, that's a good place to stop there.
Pears, you say?
Pears. He doesn't have a pear.
Well, it's
This
not
narrator
necessarily...
doesn't have a
Well, not necessarily they're related or whatnot. They're just same age.
But I can't think of anyone that we've heard of in this story who would be an accompaniment yet.
I'd be so nervous as the ages started getting closer to mine.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then as soon as it passed me, I'd be like,
yeah, I'd be like...
Back to Silver One, yay!
I was lying in bed in a restless haze at 2 a.m., listening to the rain drum angrily against the window when suddenly there was a knock. Bang, bang, bang. Strong, authoritative. Bang, bang, bang. I had to remind myself to breathe as I reached down and grabbed the mop handle. But the banging had stopped, replaced by a thud, thud, thud. Whoever was out there was done knocking. They were coming for me after all, and they were kicking my door down. Who's there? I swear I said it aloud, but the words may have gotten caught in my throat. The thudding continued. I fumbled to my phone as the door jamb started to splinter. I begged my phone to unlock as my hand shook wildly. Come on, unlock. Boom. The door gave way. It was too late. Into the house strode Gus? I screamed it, still clutching the mop handle. Gus pointed his shotgun dead at me. Gus? What the fuck? Gus is packing? There's no way his old ass is gonna be able to blast that shotgun and survive it.
Now hang on a goddamn second. A shotgun is not what was used on any of the other people. As far as we know, there'd be a mess.
If it don't work out with her, I'll just use Cap.
Which leads me to believe you may in fact be correct, and the narrator has inadvertently been up to no good, but we're about to find out. Take it away. Let's find out.
Basking in the sunlight of Big Road. Gus, no. I watched his eyes dilate, then register me standing there, afraid, and he lowered the gun. Bert, you're okay. I tried calling, but the cell towers are flooded. Abe Gardner's gone. Worried you might be too. I caught my breath.
Alright,
Gus
this is gonna be a good match. We're gonna win this one.
He apologized about the door and explained that he couldn't sleep, that his mind's been racing since he first reported Ariel missing to Jackie and I. The dark circles under his wild eyes reflected my own. I put my hand on Gus's and told him it was the same for me. Are they gonna kiss?
That'd be sweet.
In fact, him being here was the first bit of warmth I'd felt in Killdeer since that morning. I can't swear to it, but did Gus blush?
Oh, maybe they are sweet on each other. This is adorable.
Is this one of those like thriller movies where all of a sudden in like the second act the two main characters...
Damn, where's the healers? Where are the healing at?
Like in Terminator, that's right.
That actually plays a pretty big role in that.
That's true.
I want these men to kiss each other.
You've always asked for this. You've asked for a story that just ends up being a love story.
That's all I want out of this series.
Bro, this is not okay. What is this team?
And they sort of like kiss, and then they implode.
Oh, like the Body Snatchers, kinda?
Sure. I don't know. See what happens.
This wasn't the time to discuss it. I was in my nightgown after all, but the next time our paths crossed in the Mug and Slice. As Gus rehung the door, I assured him no one would come after an old lady like me.
Oh! Why can't it be an old fella?
Yeah, I know.
I was rooting for these two old men to smooch.
I thought it was an old dude this whole time. What does it say?
Go away. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Like we assumed it was
Get out
an
of
old
here.
guy.
Yeah, I
Get
guess
out of here,
Gert is a
buddy.
lady's name
Get
sometimes.
out.
Gertrude. How often do you see stories about two old gay men, you know?
That would have been fantastic. As Gus rehung the door, I assured him no one would come after an old lady like me, and he headed home. Maybe I should have asked him to stay, but I was suddenly starting to feel a bit feverish. That rotted feeling behind your eyes was creeping in, and my skin had grown clammy. I was too hot, or was it too cold? And my eyes were watering. I could have sworn the walls of my room began to almost shimmer. I wiped my eyes and looked around. A
Yo,
ringing
you guys
started
are
to
actually
grow
so
in my
good with the
ears.
code calls.
The
I
walls
love how
were
you
more
wait
than
for it to
shimmer.
die and then pop
They were
up.
glowing, an ethereal blue.
Yeah, honestly, pro gamer move, man. I haven't watched that tutorial.
Either
Disappearing?
Gert
I think one of the
accidentally
pro
ate a
teams
bag
did that
of
one time and it was like
or
revolutionary.
something supernatural was happening.
Maybe it's love.
You fall in love and you disappear?
This is what I predicted.
You did not predict.
No, I said yes, I did. Sorry.
Jesus
Christ.
so mad about
Holy
that.
shit.
I got a little defensive there.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
What was that voice that came out of you, too?
I don't know. But what I was saying was when people kiss. And that's romance, isn't it?
I'm still taken aback by the pitch of that voice. No,
This is so dog shit.
I'm feeling the Riddler vibes.
It's crazy. Holy shit.
Anyway.
Yo, Bucky, go DPS.
He
You're not
did
doing
kinda
anything,
say
please.
that, but
And
not
go tank. You only need one DPS. It's fine.
Suddenly, I was blinded by a pulsing blue light that came from every corner of the room. My skin broke out in a cold sweat.
We need a
I was
second tank,
alone.
3
The
healers.
drapes were gone, but my skin prickled everywhere like someone was watching me. Then, I screamed. It felt like a hook the size of a manhole cover had been driven into my chest and was yanking me up towards the ceiling. My hair, drenched in sweat, hung across my eyes, which failed to reflect the throbbing light. The searing pain in my chest was an agony unlike any I'd felt before. I felt myself slipping out of consciousness. Before I blacked
can you
out,
get off
the
rocket,
last thing I
please?
saw was my ceiling
not go
split
rocket.
apart, and a bolt of
I don't
lightning
wanna
shoot
rocket,
out of
please,
the
no.
clouds straight at my chest.
Go like a cloak or invis
Fucking aliens, dude.
something or
Wait, aliens?
mantis
Aliens,
or
dude.
tanker.
She's being abducted. She got hooked on the alien
Mantis?
Aliens up
Why
there.
Mantis?
I just don't want to rocket.
Oh, I got a big one. I got a big one, Bert.
I got an old
This is
lady.
gonna res
I
beacon.
tell you what, I really like lightning as a stand-in for abduction. That's very cool.
I awoke in a small white room with no furniture and no wall decorations. There barely seemed to be walls at all. In every direction,
try
the
not
white
to die
floor
yet. We're
ended
gonna
in
pour
a
up to
mist
the
that
point and then I
extended
kill
all the
please.
way to the white ceiling. The only other object in the room, holding his knees and looking worse for wear, was Abe Gardner. Abe? Suddenly, the misty walls cleared away, revealing a larger room, still all white, but whose cloudy walls were now hundreds of yards away in every direction. I scanned the room. Not far away, the two
Sit down
missing
again.
6-year-olds were huddled together, and near them was Jackie and the other teen. They all looked emaciated, like they hadn't eaten for days. The other missing killdeer residents were there too, as well as a pair of cats, 2 cows, 2 horses, chickens. I even recognized a dog as being the one from the flyer in the mug and slice. Everyone was here, though no one
Yo,
looked
get
well.
off a rocket,
I pushed
please.
my legs into motion towards the group, but
I
was
wasn't
stopped
saying get off
dead
Bucky to
by
go
a
rocket.
piercing shriek. From the opposite side of the room, a dark, writhing mass started sliding towards me. As it got closer, its appearance made my jaw fall open and my body go limp.
That's an alien.
Do you want to guess what this thing alien looks like?
It sounds like Grimace from the McDonald's commercials.
I think I remember that.
Big purple guy.
Yeah, kind of like Grimer from Pokemon. You don't know Pokemon.
No.
You know, I like to stay classic. Big head, little body.
Yeah. I'd like them to look like beetles.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
You know, mop tops, flame drums. I'm just kidding. Bugs.
Yo, Magneto, do you know how to play Hulk? Go Hulk,
Yeah.
you will win.
He was 10
I'm
feet
a,
tall,
cool.
with an
I'm a
almost
celestial
aquatic
fucking
flesh,
Namor.
like an enormous jellyfish with no tentacles. It came
Might be too
close
late to
and
switch,
lunged
but
at
yeah,
me
sure.
until it was inches
Fine,
from my
just switch,
face.
trust me.
It smelled like
Yeah,
death.
Adam.
From deep within itself, it began to talk. Look upon me and rejoice, my daughter, for your salvation is now assured. Welcome to the new ark, the ark that will save your planet. A great flood is coming, and I have been charged with delivering you from eternal damnation. I opened my mouth to speak, but the creature cut me off. I was blind, but now can see, for I've read your books, I've spoken to your gods. He said the second great flood was upon you, and that I was your planet's only
I
salvation.
mean, the plan was for me to
The
go
misty
rocket, but
walls
this guy
rose
has
again
healed like
around
fucking
the
idiot and do nothing,
separating
but
the two from the rest of the room. That was 4 days ago.
thanks for switching, bro.
We haven't had
Oh,
any
no
food
problem.
or water since. I spent my waning waking moments thinking of Kildee,
Nice.
of Gus, but when I sleep, there's nothing left but the rain.
So,
We're dead. Rockets low.
So it is positive
Nice, good shit.
that the original Noah's Ark actually, in fact, happened, because it says second.
I guess so.
Amazon, you pleasure.
That's kind of cool. This is a great story.
It was a great story. I loved the atmosphere. I loved Gert. I wish Gert was a fella and that those
I'm
two
gonna be
men
screaming you, bro.
lived happily ever
What are these guys
after.
doing?
Hey, you know what?
For
Actually,
real.
in the
He's
comments,
walking
fucking
you
silver,
from
man.
nothing.
You
Not
guys
yet.
suck.
for Gert and Gus, male Gert and Gus.
Neil Gert and Gus exchanging some saliva.
Yeah. Good, give us the details.
It It doesn't seem like
I
they're
don't know
saying
what's
that.
going on. I'm so
It's
confused.
dark. Well, Blob Man doesn't have any idea. He's just gonna start poking on the sticks.
Respawn up there as well.
I mean,
Respawn
I
up there,
assume
we
there's
got
a
it.
suggestion box of some kind or
Namor's
something
dead.
where you can say like, hey,
And then we're
we could
respawning.
use some Chex Mix down here. I don't think he will. I think the horror of the story is that they have allegedly been saved. Everyone on Earth is doomed.
Can we get rid
But
of it?
this alien who is saving them is
Oh shit.
sort of doing it as this like glorious plight.
Rocket, do you know you have a team up
Dude,
with me?
Rocket, are you fucking retarded? You know how to fucking
He's
play
gonna be
Rocket?
so disappointed.
You know about the team up,
when
you
he
idiot?
returns to Homeland and has no animals to put in his
You
little
guys have to
box.
respawn, you guys have to team up,
He's
get
just
it
gonna
on
be
so
like,
then just come
he's gonna
around.
open the back of the truck like a UPS guy, like, all right, look at all the delivery. And there's just gonna be skeletons there. Ah, shit.
Yeah.
Guess I gotta go back.
Hey, I loved it. That's a great story.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That story was submitted to us and actually written specifically for this show by our very own Garrett.
What is up with these last two games? Why have these last two games just been so bad?
Take you
Just so bad.
To realize the narrator was in fact a female.
Well, anyway, sleep tight.
Whatever, dude. This is crazy.
The Blob Man bite?
We certainly can't do this for every single episode.
Oh, we certainly can.
Don't let the Blob Man bite.
Ta-ta.
That was so fucking shitty of a game. Oh.
Like the noise, the buff you can collect. I want a buff.
No, not hearing this.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I'm a little distracted.
Son of a bitch. Not listening to this.
Wow, I have a drawn.
Peacock is the streaming home of Wicked.
What is this? No, we need two tanks. Why do people do this? Nah, I'm not. No, I'm forcing it. I'm forcing it.
Life doesn't stop.
I am forcing the change.
That's why Sophia offers self-paced online.
A lone killer stalks the concrete artery of America. He prowls each passing off-ramp an act of small mercy, as unbeknownst to those living their innocuous lives beyond, he has spared them a bloody fate.
Fine, I'll play Hulk after I
Eventually,
die.
his mercy would run out.
I don't want to play Hulk, but I will play Hulk after I die.
The hunt was coming to an end. His engine would sputter to a quiet whimper as it finds itself crawling into the parking lot at an entirely unremarkable strip mall, one of the thousands dotting the Midwest like grains of sand on a hot summer sidewalk. He would slink out from the car door before finding himself in a store where a lone employee would be passing her mundane shift, counting the minutes before she could leave to live a life outside of these four walls. Within moments, though, he would leave bloody, with the only evidence being the body he had chosen to render lifeless. Then he would find himself once more on that concrete artery, the hunt beginning anew. Don't worry, though, guys,
can we,
you're
shoot the
safe
Namor
here.
squids?
Don't let that
Can
story
we, like,
alarm you, that
focus
very
me on
difficult
healing so I'm about to
story.
die?
Safe. Within the walls of the Red Thread, think of Red Thread like a little safe house. As long as you're here with us, your friends, you're safe. That's not just emotional manipulation to get you to, continue watching Red Thread or anything. You're safe here.
That's crazy work.
Red Thread promise with me. I've got my good friends. In fact, one of them is so good, she's my fiance. Kira. Hello, Kira.
Hello.
And also my other soon-to-be fiance, perhaps, Jordan. Hello.
Hello.
I take that laugh as a rejection, by the
just
way.
so you know. No, absolutely not. Look, I've got my own fiance to deal with, but
Yeah, unfortunately, you're off the market.
Absolutely get in on this, yeah.
talk about something disturbing, horrifying, and very sad?
Totally. This is actually a really good day for it. I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but it's
Oh
overcast.
man!
It
All right,
feels like a
I'll
day
switch to
for
the
a ghost.
Hulk for the team
Yeah,
up.
this has nothing to do with ghosts.
There's no ghosts.
Creative ghosts for the future.
No ghosts here on this episode. Today we're dealing with one of the most mysterious, perhaps, serial killers that roamed America in the 90s, the I-70 killer. Called the I-70 killer because that's where his hunting grounds were, the Interstate 70, which spread across from west to east across, America, basically across the entire middle of America, right, Kira? From,
almost.
Yeah, all the way over, almost all the way over to Nevada from the east coast. So yeah, this guy operated in a very small window, claimed a lot of lives while he was active, and then he just disappeared. Just as quickly as he came onto the scene, he was gone, leaving many questions in his wake. Jordan, you told me that you've heard of this one, which is, I guess, not surprising to some degree, but also surprising because I didn't think that you would have followed many, serial killer cold cases in America.
I haven't. Not at all.
Yeah.
I think that
But you
there's
know of
just
this one.
some names that are so omnipotent in popular culture that it's kind of like America's Jack the Ripper.
100%. Yeah. There's definitely names that are so to the point where it's hard to, not notice
we're
them
gonna need
when
rules,
they're
bro.
talked
I
about.
don't know about this. This shit ain't it.
Yeah, plus I don't know, for whatever reason, I-70, it really sticks in your mind. It sounds very scary.
It probably sounds, the killer part of it sounds scary, but like the I-70 part probably sounds very mundane to Americans. It's just a highway. I mean, it's a cool highway, don't get me wrong, it's very long and but there's, 90 of these motherfuckers. Nothing against highways. It's just another highway though, so it's probably a pretty mundane name for them. Whereas from over here, the I-70 killer sounds very intimidating. It sounds like he's a Terminator model or something. Yeah. Sent back in time to kill, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
But no, it's just a highway.
Yeah, unfortunately. One day they'll have them though. And he's hoping. He's hoping one day there will be a super intelligent Borg that goes rogue and starts killing human beings. And then we can
only kill people along highways though. He's programmed to only kill people along highways for some reason. Yeah. As long as you steer clear of highways, that could be a good method of keeping people away from cities though, to spread out the population maybe.
Well, wouldn't it be the other way around?
Well, no, you wouldn't want to be on a highway.
Decentralization of it. Because they're not migrating back in. You just stick where you are. You're born in Utah.
You have to travel exclusively along rural roads and shit like that, right? Otherwise, you're. What are we talking about? Kira, have you heard of the I-70 killer? Obviously, you have now, but before your research into this subject, have you heard of him?
Heard of it, but I hadn't watched any videos or done any research into it.
Yeah, it is absolutely just a very recognizable name. Even if you have not done any research into it, I feel like you've just seen the title or the name of this guy across the internet in a bunch of different, Reddit threads or Twitter posts or even just like old History Channel videos. You've definitely noticed the name. It's a very well-known serial killer who prowled in the 90s.
Yeah, he really killed. He's done serial killer pay dirt, hasn't he? He's done it all. He's lived the dream of all serial killers. Out on the open road, they seem to love that. Not getting caught, that seems to be a big plus. It just famous acts to the point that Kira and I are like,
I know it. I've heard of it. Yeah, it's for sure. I think he hit the serial killer pay dirt. Basically, like he got what he wanted. In the short amount of time that he was active, as far as we know, he could have been active longer, for sure, but in that time, he got what he wanted, and then he just dipped, and no one knows who he is. Like, he succeeded in that way, which is obviously a shame. I'm going to take the very controversial opinion of saying I wish he was caught.
Wish he was caught. I'm rooting you, I-70. Keep the dream alive, man.
Keep the dream alive. You'll make a return one day. To go along with what you were saying about the highways, though, with the serial killers seeming to love them, I was reading an interesting article the other day when I first started researching this case about how the proliferation of these highways across America seemingly enabled a lot of serial killers, because now they were able to easily operate in other states and jurisdictions, which complicated the whole investigation of their murders. So there is an argument to be made
we're
that
holding
these
them, but I ain't
highways
doing
in and of
damn
themselves
thing.
enabled and created serial killers across the decades, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, how easy would it be to get away? They've given you the... There's not really such a thing as DNA or anything. So,
yeah.
I mean, DNA did exist. I want to clarify that. It wasn't...
That's a new invention, actually. We've only just created DNA. No, yeah, DNA, it existed. But obviously, analysis of DNA was definitely not, something that police readily had available to them in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Well, maybe 80s, but yeah, it was definitely not common and as good as it is now. So, Chapter 1, the I-70, Nature's Giant Concrete Mystery. Interstate 70, created in 1956. I thought it would have been created earlier than that. But no. Created in 1956 is a stretch of road 2,151 miles, 461 kilometers long, stretching across most of the United States of America, beginning in Cove Fort, Utah.
Utah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Utah. That's how I've
been there more than we have, so I assume you're right.
I've never been to Utah.
Right. Yeah, no. See, this is how specific and America-focused you are. You even know that they care about their state more than the country it seems. I was just like, you've been in the general vicinity of it. Like, I don't know. I assume you've been to Guatemala once. That's close enough.
So, beginning in Cove Fort, Utah, that's where the road begins. Then running through 8 states before ending in Baltimore, Maryland. That's absolutely not how they pronounce Baltimore. It was along this interstate in the spring of 1992 that a man, I've got to get serious now, known now as the I-70 Killer, began a series of murders targeting employees of shops that dotted the interstate road. The 6 people in total died over a 1-month crime spree, but there are also alleged other victims as well. Not confirmed to be the I-70 Killer's victims, but there's some evidence to suggest that they may have been, so that number could be greater than 6. 30 years later, we still do not know who this man is, and in fact, we have very little information to even make an educated guess. There's a lot of cases out there, like the Zodiac Killer, where people are very passionate about certain suspects, given circumstantial evidence. There's not even that kind of stuff in this case, really.
Oh, no one's passionate about who the I-70 Killer is.
Well, no one has a person to really point to. There are some names, but it really does just go by gut feeling, more or less. Right, Kira?
Checkers and Rally's $4 unbeatable meal deal changes everything. Your choice of sandwich plus fries, drink, and an apple pie. Just $4. Saving money isn't going to change you, right?
Who, me?
Get more for your 4. Only at Checkers and Rally's.
Make your browser fast. Make your browser safe. Make your browser Chrome. Choose Google Chrome for your computer.
Yeah, I don't think there's any full suspects. It was, just a lot of names and possible people, but nothing concrete.
Yeah. Nothing with real evidence. They threw out names, I noticed a lot. There were definitely names that they would throw out, but then when people were asked, why do you think this guy in particular, it usually just came down to vibes. That was their main argument. It's okay. There is a very interesting, and this is a little bookmark or a teaser for the end of this episode. In my research that I did today, I was traveling through the internet to find, Reddit posts about this to see what people were talking about, in particular to the I-70 Killer online. And I did find a very interesting post that I'll get to at the end of this episode, which I think hasn't really been covered online yet, but I found it very fascinating, so I included it in this document towards the end. Right, so we're going to go over a timeline of the murders chronologically, because I think that is probably the best way of covering this, just to give people a chronological order of the events that transpired. So on April 8th, 1992, 26-year-old Robin Fuldauer was working a shift at a Payless shoe store in Indianapolis. The store these days, a Battery Plus, was located less than a quarter mile from Interstate 465, which connects to the I-70. Have you seen pictures of the highway system over in America? It is so extensive. Not only do they have these giant, like, arterial veins basically running across the entire country, but they've got like just highways like connecting these main ones to each other as well. It's like, I mean, obviously this is such a stupid thing to say, but it is crazy that this infrastructure even exists. Like, don't roads over here cost like, I don't know, like $30 million to like make one road of like one block? Yeah, it's crazy. I just can't fathom how we made these roads in the past. Like, how? They must have been on a crazy budget.
I don't know. I assume it just dealt with like a lot of Chinese migrants losing arms and explosives. Like, I think that must have been it.
Did it just get like it just got like exponentially more expensive in the modern era for some reason? I guess workers' rights would have to be my guess, which is why
I don't
like that
think
got
that's
more
all
expensive.
of it though. But you're right. Roads are you could not build the American road system today.
No, which is why they can't maintain the American road system today.
Yeah, they can't even maintain it.
Their infrastructure is falling apart across the, especially
No
across
healing
the
is
central,
crazy.
The interior, like all those roads through the Midwest and such are not great from what I've heard. So yeah, it's impossible to maintain, let alone construct, which is just, it's unfathomable. Like, I can't believe, and even over here in Australia, we have like a highway that broadly connects all around the state, all around the country, right? Like the Great, what's it called? The Great Ocean Highway or whatever the fuck it's called.
All right. Oh yeah, Highway 1. It's always that one.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just
and then we've got
over.
the Bruce Highway.
Yeah, or the classic Bruce Highway. That's our road.
Good old Bruce.
Yeah, good old Bruce.
See,
Brucey.
that's what you're supposed to name your highways after.
Yeah, name it after a dude.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. It's unbelievable to me that you guys are just calling it these very scary, dystopic future robot killer names.
Yeah, like I-70s. You spent all the like.
I don't know how the hell we won that, but we did.
You give it a name like I-70. It's so nerdy too. If you read the rationale for why they name their roads this way, it has to do with like mathematics and stuff. Like the like roads with even number naming, so like 70, 65 or whatever, are the ones that go horizontal across the country, and then odd number ones are the ones that go like north to south. You know, vertical roads.
Come on, America! Stop pretending you're that intelligent. I'm sick of this. What is this? Like, who's that amazing quarterback player?
Tom Brady.
What's his name? Yeah, Tom Brady. Like, as if he doesn't deserve a highway.
Well, they're all named. I'm pretty sure they exclusively name airports and stuff after those people instead.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the completely wrong way around.
Yeah.
Like, if you are talking about something that should be named after geography, maybe it's the thing that links you to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Not to Denver.
Yeah. I want to fly into the Tom Brady airport, where I don't know where I'm going.
Come on, that
I don't know where that
dumb.
is.
I'm sorry. That's so stupid.
I have no clue where the Tom Brady airport. I bet there's a Tom Brady airport. Oh, 100%. Oh my god. Oh damn, I was close. There's Tom Bradley. I don't know which one that is.
Yeah, okay, well, who's Tom Bradley?
I have no clue. Find out.
Yeah, I'm gonna find this out.
Oh, he's the former mayor of Los Angeles. That makes sense.
Nah, well, okay, alright, that's it. Rename it to Tom Brady. You have to get rid of one L out of that. There's such bad airport names.
Is Tom Brady even connected to Los Angeles? Isn't he on the other side of the country? Like, he played for the Patriots.
Yeah, but still, what a star. Come on. Anyway, there's no one going to be better than that guy. He's the Tom Cruise of football.
You know he kisses his son on the mouth?
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you can join for $24.99 a month and bring a friend for free anytime. Work out at any of our 2,500 plus locations and enjoy access to the Black Card Spa. Join now for
devil's trade. You're really good at football, but you have to kiss your son on the mouth.
Oh man, I'm so glad I'm not from one of those Arabic kind of families or something like that where it's like, come on, kiss for Papa. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't either. I could kiss like your dad on the mouth maybe, or like Tom Brady on the mouth.
Yeah, obviously, definitely.
Yeah, but not my
very handsome man, obviously, but
yeah.
you know, it's too much. It's too intimate. Why is Tom doing? Like, Tom's all American, isn't he? Like,
I mean, I don't know.
This guy's from somewhere called like Maine or something.
There's nothing more American than kissing your son on the mouth, I guess.
He's from California.
Who? Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Name the airport after him, for Christ's sake. It's all there. All you have to do is just get a texter and cross the L out. That's all. It's not a real infrastructure upgrade. Wouldn't it be incredible if they did the costing on it and it costs more than to upgrade the I-70?
They should rename the airport the Tom Brady kisses his son on the mouth airport, international airport. Very catchy. Alright. So Robin Fuldauer was described as a kind, intelligent, caring, and hard-working young woman. She was working this particular shift solo, expecting nothing out of the ordinary to occur. Maybe just to be a little busier without the help of her sick co-worker since she was working in her stead. However, that day, a particular man in a green jacket had taken the interest of an employee of a nearby paint store, Jeff Mayrose. So Jeff Mayrose is the guy who noticed this strange man. The man he noticed was loitering around the buildings, talking and giggling to himself. Jeff thought the man must have either been mentally ill or on drugs. Pretty good guess. He would look into his bag and then stare at the Payless store, sitting on the curb for about half an hour. The strange man disappeared around 2 p.m., but was then spotted again calmly catching a ride back to Interstate 456. What does catching a ride mean? You mean like he drove his own car, or like...
Like hitchhiking.
No, so he's a hitchhiker.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's sus then. Around the same time... Sorry?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I could ever do that. Maybe it's because of stories like this, and back then there wasn't that many of these stories.
I just don't understand how you can hitchhike. It's such a dangerous situation.
Isn't it?
It's so...
Everyone
like,
involved.
9 out of...
Picking one up.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. 9 times out of 10, like, most of these highway-related, like, murders and dangerous situations are born from hitchhiking. It's so dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get, like, the desperation, like, but where do you need to go that desperately where you would hitchhike? Like, most of the people I knew who hitchhiked just did it for, like, the thrill of it, or because they just couldn't afford gas or whatever.
You know people that hitchhike.
Yes, I knew people who hitchhiked, and I was like, that is crazy. You're insane.
So weird. Yeah.
Like, I'm a sane person, and I wouldn't pick anyone up hitchhiking, so the only... reasonably, the only people that would pick up hitchhikers are the opposite of me, which would be insane. So,
Which really insane people. I think so too.
Yeah.
That, and I'd imagine a lot of bored truck drivers that just, I've listened to too many podcasts. I want a real podcast now.
Oh, so lonely people, lonely truck drivers who want some company.
Which, let's be honest, is another form of insanity.
Yes, for sure. Alright, so around the same time, the owner of the Payless store needed to get in contact with Robin and began to call. Oddly, they noticed they received no answer. This was concerning and strange, so they called the fuel station next door at roughly 2 p.m. to ask for someone to go check on Robin. The worker, a friend of Robin's, walked over and took a quick look inside and immediately noticed that the cash register was wide open. She couldn't see Robin anywhere in the immediate area and decided that the safest course of action was to return to the fuel station and call the police. Yeah, that's what I would do in that situation. No need to be brave and run in all, guns are blazing, and like if I notice something even remotely out of the norm, I'm getting the fuck out of there and calling the police in that situation. It could be like one item on the ground erroneously, or like a spill of water in the aisle, and I would immediately be out of there calling police. I'd be so scared. You wouldn't want to be in the back having like a medical concern or something like that, because I would not be of any help.
You'd call the cops.
Yeah, I'd call the
guy
cops.
with the heart attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the ambulance.
This guy is clearly a threat to me.
Yeah, it's clearly a false flag giving you impression that he's in need of medical attention so he can mug you. It's very wily of you, I'll tell you that.
That's my survival instincts. I have good survival instincts. When the police arrived, it did not take long for them to find Robin, who was found deceased in the back office. Robin had been fatally shot in the back of the head twice with a .22 caliber handgun. And as best to my knowledge, .22 caliber is not like a extremely large caliber. Like it's more of a like you have to like point blank kind of execute people to be able to do like sustainable damage to someone. I mean, you could kill people, but it's like if you really want to kill someone, you're probably choosing a higher caliber. From what I understand, not a gun expert. We need a gun expert on here. Kira, you ever shot a gun before?
No.
You're a gun expert.
Yeah, that's why you're on the show. That's why I proposed to you.
I've never
For your
touched
gun
a gun in
skills.
my life.
You did archery though in high school.
That was different.
That's a form of gun.
It is different, but it's still pathetically probably the most qualified on the podcast.
You hold a weapon that could be misconstrued as a ranged weapon, perhaps. Alright, the police investigated the area but found that there was no sign of struggle, and as best as they could tell, only around $90 was taken from the cash register. Was that all of the money in the cash register?
Not sure. Didn't say.
Okay.
But it seemed to be a theme throughout all of them that not all of the cash was taken. So I'm assuming that there was more in the till.
Okay. The back door was wide open, indicating that the killer had used it as an escape route. On a regular day in broad daylight, Robin was murdered in her workplace. The police began to interview her co-workers, gather evidence, and try to put the pieces together. A difficult task given the lack of evidence and eyewitnesses. They assumed, with no other connection to be made to the case so far, that the motive was robbery.
Today, we accomplished nothing. I mean it, not a thing. And it was kinda everything.
Stay 2 nights, get a $50 Best Western gift card.
What's the difference between a Northern Tool and Equipment pressure washer and the kind they have at big box stores? Well, what's the difference between wielding industrial strength PSI and just putting your thumb over the end of a garden hose? Or more to the point, what's the difference between opening a giant can of whoop ass and opening a tiny can of